I'll call this meeting to order. Good morning. Welcome to Council's June the 5th regular council meeting. I see we've got 10 chairs filled, so there's no reason to excuse anyone from today's meeting, which is good. We have minutes of the May 22nd meeting have been circulated that some of us were absent for. But are there any errors or omissions from those who were in attendance, or a motion or a motion to approve? Kelly, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes as circulated.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Additionally, we had a special council meeting on May the 31st via Teams regarding some requests from the province for fire services support. Those minutes have also been circulated. Is there a motion to approve those minutes? Thank you, Ellen.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Call for post-agenda items. I have several suggestions, partly because there's been a number of meetings and conferences that have been attended in the last couple of weeks that are fresh on people's minds. I'm going to suggest we take a few minutes at the under post-agenda items to hear a verbal report with regard to the Inventures Conference in Calgary that Neil and Greg and I attended, and as well as Lynette and Kelly have just come back from FCM, and maybe there'll probably be written reports later, but I think while it's fresh on people's minds, if you share some highlights, that would be good. And as well, yesterday there was an AHS meeting here in town that I think four or five of you attended. Yeah, Greg, Amanda, Holly, Kelly, Adina, and Dan attended, and that's an area that's pertinent to all of us, so if you could just update us on what's going on there. And so I'm going to suggest that as a post-agenda discussion. Are there any other post-agenda items that you'd like to add? Seeing none, a motion to approve the agenda as altered. Neil. Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Question period or notices of motion. Are there any questions being posed in the internet? Seeing none, and no councillors have notices of motion this morning, we will continue on. And I believe that we can go to our delegations. We have people attending a little early. You don't have to wait for the county today. So welcome. Southern Alberta Summer Games representatives, Natasha and Marissa, if you'd introduce yourselves. We will introduce ourselves so you've met everyone, and then welcome to the meeting.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm Natasha Laviolette with the City of Brooks, and
I'm Marissa Christman. I'm the program coordinator for the City of Brooks.
Wonderful.
Welcome. Go ahead, Neil.
I'm Neil, County of Newell. How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Good morning, Amanda Philpott, Division 8 Duchess.
Good morning, Ellen Unruh, Division 7, around the village of Rosemary.
Good morning, you two. Glad to see you here.
Good morning. I'm Kelly Christman. Good name, Marissa. Division 6, the west side of the county.
Arno Dirksen from the Gym area, Division 9. Welcome again.
Good morning, Matt Fensky, CAO.
Morning, Holly Johnson, Division 4, Scandia, Rainier, and Bow City.
Hello, Adina Scandrip, Division 2, the hamlet of Tilly and surrounding area.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Dan Short from Division 1, Rolling Hills.
Good morning, I'm Lynette Kopp, Division 3, Patricia area.
Catherine Siakla, Communications Officer.
Ariana Nielsen, Executive Assistant.
Sandra Stanway, Brooks Bulletin.
And we have Lisa Dressler from Southeast Alberta Chambers of Commerce. Welcome as well. Welcome. Go ahead.
Thank you for having us. So we are back again, excited for Southern Alberta Summer Games. So we are here to just request again that the county respectfully donate or sponsor the cost of the T-shirts for the Southern Alberta Summer Games this year. It'll be held in Taber. It'll be July 2nd to the 5th. And we've included a little bit of a budget. So the $4,210 is what we'll be requesting. And this is a really great event. Unsure if any of you guys have participated. We were there last year, had a really great turnout. There were 160 athletes that attended, which was great for the first return of the games. And this is one of Western Canada's longest grassroots multi-sport games. So it's a really great time to have, friendly competition and camaraderie, volunteerism, and show community pride. So we're really excited to go back to Tabor. And are there any questions?
Thank you. Are there questions? Anyone have questions? Greg, go ahead, please.
Hi. It's kind of a weird question, but back in the 70s,
yes,
we participated as the County of Newell.
Yes.
Is that still done? Just like the name, like in all the standings and everything? Does it just say County of Newell, or does it say County Newell Brooks, or what is it? What does it say?
So I have a very exciting logo that our team worked to create with the use of technology. So we are Team Newell, and so that will be on the T-shirts. And when you bring up a great question, that was a question last year as well. We're going to have the Brooks Region and County, the Brooks Region logo on one side, and then the County of Newell logo on the other side. We'll have the event logo that we drafted, and I'll pass that around to you guys. And then we'll have numbers on the back for some of the team sports. They actually use the T-shirts as the jerseys, so there'll be numbers on the back of some of those. So I'll actually just come bring you these. We're pretty excited about these. We think that they really represent the county, and then a bit of the games as well. So I'll distribute them.
Great, thank you. Question? Thank you for that. Lynette, you had a question as well.
Is this the same amount that we sponsored last year?
Matt, go ahead.
Last year was around $28.90, and I think it came in a little bit higher than the $28.90. So same ballpark. And I think it's driven by the number who ultimately register.
And yeah, so just a little bit of inflation then, as well as last year, we had added the numbers on the back of the shirts for the jerseys. So we're just anticipating that this year.
Looks good. Yeah. Any other questions? Neil, go ahead.
I think it's great, and I would like to make that motion.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments? Yes, Amanda, please.
How many T-shirts will that be?
170.
T-shirts, sorry, I heard teachers, must be my ears. So we're anticipating for 170 athletes, close to last year. So.
Great. Any other questions? We have a motion on the floor to approve as recommended. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Good meeting to the county this morning. It was very successful. Thanks for coming in. With that, let's move to item number 7.2, Southeast Alberta Chamber of Commerce. Lisa Dressler, welcome. You're here a little early, and we were welcome to have you come into the agenda right now. And you've heard the introductions, so I guess you know everyone here already. Thanks. Welcome.
First off, Reeve Dirksen, you've run a great meeting. I've been to many, many different council meetings, and I'm very impressed so far, and I appreciate County of Newell Council for having me out here to present to you. It's been a long time coming.
Well, thank you. I'll just say it's early in the day for the compliment. Thank you.
Before I start my presentation, because I noted that you talked about some of the conferences going on, and it's certainly conference season right now, we just wrapped up our 87th annual Alberta Chambers of Commerce Provincial Conference that we hosted in Medicine Hat in the Southeast Alberta region. We also celebrated as part of that conference our 125th anniversary as a chamber, hence you can see our logo on the screen. And we were pleased to have Brooks Newell Region exhibit at the conference, and thank you to Joint Services as well for sponsoring that and making that happen. We had Lisa Tiffin, who was part of one of our panels on housing, and she did a great job representing the region, and I certainly gave a shout out that this region is certainly open to development and encouraging our delegates from across the province to check out the Southeast Alberta region. We did have 180 unique registrations, so there was a total of 203 registered for the various events, but 180 unique registrations representing both local and delegates from across the province. We had 32 different chambers of commerce represented at that conference, and we had 29. I know all of you are very familiar with the resolution process through the rural municipalities. We had 29 resolutions that were adopted at that conference, 6 of which were from the Southeast Alberta Chamber. So we were really pleased to see those go through, and you know, some of ours were development of brownfield property, and certainly I know when you're dealing with abandoned wells and brownfield sites, that's a concern in terms of the costs. Also resolutions on equitable funding for managing crime. That's certainly been increasing in our regions. I won't go through all of them, but if you're interested, I can certainly forward the press releases from those from the event. And we were pleased to receive the 2024 Chamber of the Year award as well for the province. So
Congratulations.
some great successes for our region at this past weekend's event. So we're still a bit in recovery mode from that, but pleased to be here. So you're probably familiar with our team. I know there's many, many familiar faces around the Horseshoe, and hopefully you've been able to connect with some of our team at different events. The most familiar face to you would be, of course, our Brooks Newell Business Development Coordinator, Naomi Zacharias, and she's been certainly out and about in the community, getting involved in the different events. I know she's been at the pancake breakfast so far this week, and I'm certainly looking forward to rodeo this weekend. Had a great time here last year, taking in both the Friday and Saturday rodeos and the events, and hoping to come back for Bullapalooza as well. There's no other place that I've ever been to where you can do bull riding on the street. So looking forward to being out. You guys, the Brooks Newell region in particular has some amazing assets, community assets, and great people. And I've certainly enjoyed the opportunity to re-explore. I had come here certainly as a little tyke years ago, but it's great to be back and to see everything that you're doing here. So Naomi's presented to Rotary meetings, been at grand openings, engaged at the volunteer fair, been part of the ABP meeting. So I've been a strong supporter of the Alberta beef producers, working with the provincial organization, Canadian Cattle Association. I know our ag industry is extremely important in this part of the province, and so those connections are invaluable for us. Similarly, I connect with Alberta Grazing Association, the crop, Alberta Crops. So we definitely understand the agricultural roots in our region and the importance of collaboration and connection with them. She's been to the regional economic development meetings. They've re-engaged those at our request. So it's great to see the economic developers coming back together and talking about collaboration and what we can kind of do together, and making sure that we're not duplicating, but we're complementing the work that each of us are doing. Naomi also attended the Developers Roundtable. We've hosted a number of business roundtables in the region, including those in Bassano and Dutchess as well, and looking forward to getting out in the region. We are up to 67 members in the Brooks-Newell region. I think many of you will remember that we started from scratch when we looked at the expansion. So the Brooks and District Chamber had went through the dissolution process, and so we expanded our boundaries, changed our name. So we certainly appreciate the support in the regional approach. I know it's not always easy. The initial indications were certainly ones of reluctance from the business community, feeling that Medicine Hat was just coming into Brooks, and we certainly wanted to dispel those myths right away. I've worked in other regions we had 3 municipalities with Medicine Hat, Cypress County, and the town of Redcliffe, and we know each has their own unique identity and unique connections. So while we have strength as a region, we also have to respect each of those individual identities and assets that we have within the region and profile those to the best of our ability. We're also working on our benefits and perks within the Brooks-Newell region. So in total, we have 83 different member perks. And so what that is essentially businesses that will offer other businesses and their employees discounts at their place of business. So it ranges from everything from restaurants to haircuts to automotive services and everything in between. And so within the Brooks-Newell region, you can see the member perks that we have at the local businesses. So each of you as councillors, if you have your own businesses, because I know this is usually, the other full-time job that each of you has. But if you're not members of individual businesses, those member perks are something you can actually offer to your family employees or your employees of your company. Whereas our benefits program is more for the company benefits, the corporate benefits. So those are things like savings on merchant services or shipping or fuel discounts or HR services or financial health check. And we have Jessica Bone with ATB Wealth who does a financial analysis as part of our benefits. So we have that. And we certainly want to grow that because one of the things that our chamber does a little bit differently than other chambers, I would say across the country, quite frankly, is that we really look to leverage local benefits. So we have discounts and services that we can provide through the Alberta Chamber and Canadian Chamber, who we're members of, and they offer a suite of services that we also extend, but we really want to leverage local opportunities. So whether that's advertising discounts or signage discounts, or different perks that businesses would use. That's really where we succeed, I think, is when we work in our local region to connect business to business locally. However, we also know that not all those services are provided locally, so that's when we can extend and leverage the power that the Alberta Chambers and Canadian Chamber has. And we're also doing a number of events. So a lot of our event series that we do in the Medicine Hat Cypress region, we're bringing to the Brooks-Newell region. So our coffee and conversations, grand openings, business roundtables, social media 101, workforce roundtables. We've tried to keep all of our events so far here at no charge because we're trying to make them very much barrier-free when we're trying to make those connections and establish those connections. And so we've had really great engagement within the region, and particularly, like I think about the business roundtable that we did in Dutchess. We had great attendance, both morning and evening. And so I'm really pleased. And we've seen a couple people from Medicine Hat come here for those events, which is absolutely what we want to have happen, is get some of that traffic. I always joke, I'm like, particularly in the beginning when people would say, well, we're ending up competing with Medicine Hat. I said, people already come from Medicine Hat. They're coming for, whether they're going for medical appointments or they're coming into Costco. And for us, we want people to explore more than just going to Costco or the mall or Walmart when they come in, like explore the business community. More importantly, we want to get traffic moving the other way down the highway and not just bypassing, stopping at the gas station and going to Calgary. We actually want people coming into the community and experiencing what the region has to offer. And so being able to get people out from the other parts of Southeast Alberta to the Brooks Newell region to have to attend some of these events is certainly part of our goals, and making sure that people are connecting through those opportunities. We do have the Home and Leisure Trade Show that we're hosting again in 2025. So we hosted the one in the fall, and we had about close to 2,000 attendees, 69 exhibitors. We're already a third sold out for the upcoming show this October. So last year it was a little bit of a bumpy start because we needed to get, our footing and get some blueprint drawings for the facility and get, to scale information so we could accurately be able to sell space in that show. It's like when you're building a house, you need an accurate blueprint or a floor plan before you can actually build the house. And so we're really pleased at the excitement that people have for this upcoming show now that we've got one under our belt here. I think there was a lot of reluctance initially, and there was a lot of hesitation because of experiences that people have had previously. And so hopefully we've kind of quelled those concerns, and we had really good feedback from exhibitors. We treat our exhibitors really well. And Greg knows, as he's nodding his head, he's been at our shows both here and in Medicine Hat. And, for us, it's about our exhibitors. And we know for our exhibitors, they need great consumer traffic through the doors and people who are buying. And so that's where we focus our time and attention. Some upcoming events. So, of course, I did highlight that we just hosted the Alberta Chamber Provincial Conference. June 18th, we'll be back here. Obviously, I'll be in for some of the events that you have coming up, just personally. But formally, for our Chamber board meeting, we did commit to having 2 of our board meetings here each year. So we had one in December, and our next one will be June 18th. And we're doing a Learn from the Experts with Jessica as well. So she's going to do a little bit about business financial planning. For those of you who are at Joint Services, you will have noted that the date for the election forum is different than what we posed there. We found out from the Brooks Bulletin that timing isn't so great for the date that we had because of the publishing timelines. Obviously, if we're doing an election forum, we want to make sure there's local media coverage, and so we adjusted our schedule. And so we do want to ensure that we're always showing that that we're responsive to what we hear in the community and making sure that we adjust accordingly to make sure we get maximum exposure. Welcome, Naomi. Naomi was with our team in Brooks doing the Chamber Connect, and I said, our presentation is at 11, so if you can be there at 11, we're good. And I said, I'll go early and just get a handle on the council meeting itself.
I'm sorry, the meeting isn't very well chaired, so we started early. Sorry about that. I didn't pay attention to that at all.
So our goal, as some of you know from the Joint Services presentations that I've done, we always set goals. So, before we started the expansion, our goal was to change the name, make sure we had boots on the ground in the Brooks Newell region, make sure we had a board representative on our board of directors, and start from scratch, building the relationships. So we've done that. Next was to have our trade show in the fall, to start doing some events, to see what the appetite was and to see what people wanted. We are finding that they very much like the roundtable events. So the goal is that we really do want to set up an event series so that people can plan and do that in advance. So making a commitment to have at least 2 in Dutchess, 2 in Bassano, 4 in Brooks, and 1 in the county, and we're open to feedback on what that looks like, and potentially a holiday celebration or something to get businesses together just before the holidays if there's an appetite for that. Some of the roundtable themes that we've heard from our roundtables, again, taking the feedback that we're hearing from the business community and adjusting and presenting based on that. I feel like I have till 11 o'clock because we weren't supposed to start till 11, right?
That's right.
Does that work?
You'd get away with that, yeah.
So cyber and fraud protection, working with the banks specifically on that. So looking for their leadership and guidance to deliver those. We did one on social media, and it was something that we heard at our business roundtables, that people really struggle with social media. So we did a bit of a workshop, and I think we'll probably do another one and do some more really basic stuff, getting people back to basics because there's different skill levels out there, and so making sure that we adjust for that. And then our general roundtables, and as some of you would have heard at Joint Services, one of the things that we'd really like to do is connect business to government. It's something that we hear in terms of those connections. We hear it certainly in Cypress Medicine Hat as well. One of the most well-attended event series that we do are generally our political events. And I know there's the State of the Region, and I commend the Brooks Newell region on the State of the Region event. I think I've attended the last two, and it's exceptionally well done. Certainly we're happy to help promote that event. We could not do it for $10 a ticket, so but if there's another opportunity, whether that's a roundtable with council, like a connecting business to government session, but we're open to dialogue on that, and really connecting our business community to our government and administrative representatives, just to be able to have those conversations. We had one on May 9th in Medicine Hat, and generally the city was a little bit more reluctant with town halls and roundtables in the past, because it sometimes felt to be adversarial, confrontational. Rest assured, we tend to facilitate and manage those conversations pretty well. We're used to that. And it went really well, to the point where administration was saying, can we do this again? Can we do this in September? Can we do this, quarterly? So it was a really good experience for them, and that's what we want. We want our businesses to feel heard and feel engaged, but we also want to ensure our elected representatives and our administration also gain value from that, and they don't come out of that feeling absolutely defeated, because I know that can happen. And to kind of wrap up, I thought I'll ask, if I may, some questions of council, and certainly open it up to questions from council to us as well. But I'm curious in terms of what your perceptions, what you're hearing on the street, what you're seeing, what your perceptions have been, maybe past and present, of the Chamber of Commerce, what you're hearing, what you see as areas of opportunity, because we do like to engage with our municipalities. So it's not just about engaging with our business community. It's a three-way engagement, where we want to engage with government and business and our communities. And so how do you see us working together moving forward, and what would success look like in terms of the collaboration and how we can work together moving forward?
Those are good questions. Thanks, Lisa, and welcome again, Naomi. Sorry that we started a little early, but this is good. Go ahead, Holly.
Hi, Lisa. I haven't seen you for a while. For it was like every week I was seeing you at an event, wasn't I? Yeah, I was really impressed when you guys first came in, how many events you were at. I was seeing you a lot of places. So that was wonderful. I had a question about the business roundtables. How do you connect with that? Is there a connection with that with the economic development thing? How does that all work together?
So they're certainly aware of the roundtables that we have, and Mitch has been really great at attending those roundtables, and that's important for us, because if there's questions pertaining to economic development or development within the region, having him there to be able to respond to those and answer those is certainly helpful. I am not sure if they send that information out in terms of our distribution. We do have a contact list. So if people aren't getting the invites directly, if any of you are not getting the invites directly, we just need to add you to our contact list, our Brooks Newell contact list. I do apologize for some of the communication. That's been something that we have certainly heard, is people like, I don't want to see Medicine Hat information, or, the newsletter was very Medicine Hat heavy. So what we did, we didn't want to do two separate newsletters, because there's some good information. I think it's valuable for people in Medicine Hat to see what's happening in Brooks Newell and vice versa. So we separate it to sections. So we have like federal provincial is our weekly updates, and then we have Medicine Hat and Brooks Newell, and then funding that applies to everybody, and events that would apply to everybody. So we've heard and responded to that. The other thing that we've heard is with some of our communication, because we send a lot, our businesses within Brooks Newell had said, like, I don't want to be seeing stuff from Medicine Hat. I don't want all of these grand openings. I don't want these events. So we have created a process, internal process, where we can send to our distribution list, but then exclude our Brooks Newell list so that they're not inundated with stuff that they don't feel is as relevant to them.
Is that same information then available on your website somewhere? Like, suppose, you know, that might not apply to everyone, that they don't want to see. Like, I personally think the regional collaboration has a lot of potential. And as you've indicated, not to grow the whole region, not to take away from any of the individual identities or anything like that, but that might be a way. I'm just a question on that, because while some might not want to, there's others who just want to know where they can go to get the information they might be looking for from time to time.
Absolutely. So if you go to our news page, The Voice is our newsletter. And so that is what comes out each Tuesday morning. You can also see member news. So any of our members can actually post if they expand their location, change management, change, do something new within their business, they can actually post their news as well to our site. In terms of, actually one other thing I'll highlight here, we have a Communities We Serve page, and you'll see that each of the communities are represented there, as well as a link to the business content on each of your respective municipalities. So there is a fair bit of information here. If there was, I'm trying to think. So a good example would be recently we sent out an invitation to our Medicine Hat members about the city considering moving to a MCC for our energy business. Not as applicable. If somebody else was interested, they would be able to see that under our chamber events, because we do have a chamber events calendar as well as a member events calendar. So again, members can post their events to our page. Things that we sponsor or are involved in or host is under our chamber calendar, because again, I know calendars can get pretty busy. And so it's there. So if people are curious, they can always explore our website for sure. Yeah,
that's great.
And we do, I will highlight actually on our member event calendar, we do link to the Brooks Region Tourism event calendar as well as our Tourism Medicine Hat for the same reason. There's a lot of calendars out there, and it's pretty hard. We've heard the complaint certainly in our region in terms of all the calendars that are out there. So we're trying to find a way to consolidate it so people can find what they're looking for.
Greg, go ahead. Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah, and I can attest to especially the work that the chamber does. They put out a lot of information. It's great, and I see mostly all of it because I am pretty active on the website and things. So one thing about the trade fair, especially in I took part in the Medicine Hat trade fair, and it was very, very well done, treating the exhibitors very, very well. I also did the Lethbridge one, the Home and Garden Show, the week after. It's not run by the chamber. Their chamber department doesn't run that. That's so I do have to say that you guys do an awesome job with respect to the exhibitors. Bio breaks are really important, and just to have someone coming around, especially when you're by yourself in a booth all weekend, it is nice to have that little break from time to time. So it is nice. They have carts running around with coffee and all those things, and they'll watch your booth. So it is really good that way, and I hope you do that in Brooks here too. I was going to say one thing else. I have taken part in some of the chamber events, especially the technology one, or the website. I can't remember what it was, but anyway, it was with respect to Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, we were all old people that were at that thing, and it needed to be very, very, very basic. So I think it was kind of at a little bit higher level to start. They had to dumb it right down, which was really good, because some of us had trouble getting actually onto our accounts. And yeah, it was kind of interesting, and linking them and things. So it was really, appreciate all the work you do in the area. for sure. One thing I do want to ask is, have you reached out to, say, the Brooks Oilmen's Association or some of the, and are we getting the ag side of business in the memberships in our area, or what? How are we doing with that?
So I'll let Naomi speak to the Oilmen's Association.
Association, I do not believe I have found a contact for that. Just it's on.
You have to have, again? There you go.
Technology. I do not believe I have a contact yet for the Oilmen's Association. If somebody has that, I would be absolutely thrilled to reach out to them. As for the Ag Society, Arnie, I've been chasing you for membership for a while.
I was gonna
calling you out.
I was gonna compliment you on that. Actually. I just hadn't. I'm just thinking about that here. Yeah.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head. We do have a few in the ag industry. We have Silver Sage. From the Silver Sage, we have branched out. I know Max Tateson has signed on. I do believe there is a few more. There's so many members that it's tough to remember.
I'll speak a little bit more to the ag side because I know it's been challenging. I always say we've been around for 125 years and agriculture was at the root of our foundation. Like when we were formed, it was a banker, a barrister, a rancher, a butcher, a lawyer, the pretty, central industries within this region. In about 2017, we made a concerted effort to focus on agriculture. And so we have a seat on our board of directors for ag, and we are actually going to be losing our ag representative in the fall, and we don't have a succession plan yet, so I'll plant that seed, because whether it's from Cypress Medicine Hat or Brooks Newell, Reeve Dirksen, if you're on county council, you can't be on the chamber board as much as I would love you on our board. But I will plant the seed that we do need an agriculture representative because since 2017, we have had that in perpetuity. And so I personally am certainly concerned about not having that voice around our table. So please give that some thought. But since 2017, just to give you an idea regionally, we started off, I think we had 7 members in the ag industry. And I think what occurred over the years is that the chamber just wasn't serving their needs. So of course, you have different, a varied number of crop producer groups, and I'm pleased with Alberta Crops, looking to consolidate some of that work through advocacy, and Alberta Beef Producers, Canadian Cattle, and you have, the individual ag organizations. But I think what the chamber does really well is trying to bring all of those organizations together so that we're speaking with one voice, and when we put something forward that I'm also verifying with those producer groups about what their needs are, and is this the same kind of messaging that they're using. So we started off in 2017, we had about 7 members in the ag industry. We're now over 80 within the industry, so we've certainly been able to capture some of that. The challenge for us is they're harder to get to. I know, organizations like CFIB will go right out to your family farm and come to the door. I'm not comfortable with that. It's your home. I wouldn't go to somebody's home without an invitation. And so trying to reach those, so it is meetings like ABP, when they have the producer meetings or going out to the rodeos or trying to attend some of those events to make those connections, because a lot of our agriculture producers don't see themselves as part of the chamber. They don't think the chamber is relevant for them. And I always tell our producers that the 2 top things that they need and look for typically from us is advocacy and health and dental benefits. So our health and dental benefits for farm and ranches is incredible. And so for our farms and ranches, if they're not working oil and gas and get benefits from the company, generally they want health and dental through us. And once they see it, that's generally the value add that they see from it. But the advocacy, because the last thing producers want to do is typically have to deal with government and spend the time through the bureaucracy to get the changes. So when we talk about risk management, we just had a success federally with transportation of animals and transportation of animals, changes in the language in the Act for the different categories of injured animals and what you can and cannot transport. So they have made some changes to that, exactly in line with what we've asked. I reached out to the Canadian Cattle Association just a couple weeks ago, and I said, looks to me like we've achieved this, when I went onto the website to check, and because it was around about the time we needed to renew the policy. And I'm like, oh, everything we asked for is right here. They didn't let us know, but so when I reached out to Canadian Cattle, yeah, they affirmed, no, you can take that off the books. We're good to go.
Good, yeah. Go ahead, Adina. Yeah. Oh, I do, but I've got time.
So my question is specific to the trade show. Just wondering about the JBS Center, what the facility is. Does it meet your requirements? Did you run out of room? I just have some questions about that.
Want me to speak to that one?
So I can speak to this year.
Just, Mike. Yep.
Sorry. So yes, it meets our requirements in terms of facility size. We won't be able to expand this year because of the advanced polling that's taking place in the Flex Hall. And so we will be utilizing the field house and the mezzanine for this year's show, and then hoping to be able to expand to the other facilities. But I'll let Naomi add anything else.
I guess I could add in, we do.
Oh.
I thought I hit the button, didn't hit it hard enough. Just to add in, I guess some of the things that we've been doing with the trade show, I've been tailoring it more to the needs of Brooks, because we got our first year in last year. We kind of saw how it went, who wanted to participate, what concerns were, things like that. So the mezzanine is actually being utilized for a home-based business section. I'm working to get a decorator to help me out to drive traffic upstairs. So I've been addressing the concerns that I've heard about where the previous chamber had tried the same thing. It hadn't been successful because nobody went upstairs. So I've been working on traffic issues, making sure that we're pushing people up the stairs. And then we're filling up the field house. And yes, we will be treating our vendors the same way that we treated everybody in the spring. It is the same, it's the same team, it's the same things. We bring carts around, we give everybody breaks, things like that. So we want our exhibitors to have a successful show. If they don't have a successful show, then how will we ever get them back? So we do our best to treat everybody good and make sure it's good for them.
Good. I do have some comments on some of the questions that you've asked. I mean, I think, and Lisa, you talked a little bit about some of this. I mean, I think there was a day years ago, like I recall a long time ago, when there was a cohort of, let's say, rural agriculture producers in the beef industry, let's say, were part of the Brooks and District Chamber for a period of time, and things ebb and flow, and I think you addressed it at some point. Probably an opportunity that, you know, if people see some of their cohorts when they attend meetings, that's a good thing. So I've said this before, that I think there's opportunity for growth in that area, and I know, Naomi, you have been, and I compliment you for being persistent. We haven't completed the show yet, but there's lots of things going on. But I do think there's opportunity, and similar businesses attract more of the same similar businesses, right? So that probably applies somewhat to the energy sector as well. And maybe there's some opportunities to address some, you've talked about areas of collaboration or drawing potential members, probably things like, and I'm thinking, you know, everybody who does anything these days is talking about interprovincial trade barriers for the last couple of months at least. And there's an area that actually, and you've probably addressed that at times, but that's that's probably a good one, and that'll draw some attention from people who are paying attention. So I think, I think you're doing a great job, and there's lots of room for growth too, I think, when I look through the agriculture sector at least. So I encourage you to keep doing the job you're doing. I think it's a good one, yeah. And the regional collaboration, I think, is the focus of that has lots of potential. And I don't think anybody needs to worry too much about losing their identity, because as the circles get bigger, they intersect more as well. So that's all good, I think.
May I respond to that comment?
Sure.
Just in terms of interprovincial trade. So on our website, we do have all of our active resolutions. So you can take, and agriculture is one of our 6 priority areas. So we have, as you can see on the screen, I've pulled up our ag specific policies, but on interprovincial trade, we do have a policy on interprovincial trade, and we have been advocating on that. The 2 priority areas under interprovincial trade for me, certainly right now, is liquor sales and meat processing.
Food processing.
And
yeah.
so we had certainly one of our cattle producers reach out in terms of the capacity of our local abattoirs and the backlog of meat processing. And I know that, speaking to our meat processors, I actually worked with one of our past presidents, Perry Deering, to stand up the Meat Processors Association of Alberta. So they now have a formal association. I helped with the bylaws and kind of logistics of how you do that. And so, but one of the things that we're finding is workforce within our small provincially regulated abattoirs is challenging, as is the regulations and some of the meat inspection processes that they're having to endure, which is causing some backlogs. And so because we're so close to the Saskatchewan border, we've had the request certainly to advocate for interprovincial opportunity to access abattoirs in Saskatchewan, because they're CFIA inspected, whether they're provincially or federally regulated, they still have the same standards. And the challenge is you can go across the border, have your meat processed at an abattoir in Saskatchewan, but you can't bring it back to sell it. And so our request is for, and I've already sent a letter to the minister's office to have more conversation and consultation on what that looks like for that particular industry. So because we have a policy on interprovincial trade, we can kind of intersect where we see challenges and be able to speak to those and advocate more specifically on certain issues. But interprovincial trade is certainly one of the top priorities on our agenda right now, and that's resonating through the Alberta chambers, the Canadian chambers, and they actually have also established a federation of chambers. So you see it similar to the federation within the ministers or first ministers. So we've done that amongst chambers, where they're collaborating and advocating to their provincial levels of government across the country, as well as to the federal government.
Well, that's good. Thank you for the work you're doing. Lynette, go ahead, please.
Back to the trade show. At Joint Services, you talked about your nonprofit corner, or that idea. Could you maybe just let everybody else know about that?
Certainly. So one of the concerns that has been coming up is a lot of the not-for-profits were coming forward asking if there's discounts for trade show booths, things like that. Speaking from a show manager perspective, and please do not take this the wrong way, when people come to a trade show, they really want to see things. They want to buy things. They want to see things that are exciting and interesting. And quite often the not-for-profits, they plunk in a table and they have excellent intentions and they want to be seen. People tend to unfortunately find it boring. So what I figured was create a space and bring these organizations together. Allow them to pool their resources and help them create a space that is fun and engaging, where they can keep their information available, and they can actually draw crowds in, maybe have some games, things like that to draw in the kids. Just interesting things, something kind of fun. I told them, think parade, think fun, think a little party in the corner. become engaging. All your information is there, and now you're pooling your resources. So my goal is to create this space at a low to zero cost for these organizations. By pooling them all into one space, if I cannot get it sponsored, it's going to be quite inexpensive for each of them when they come in. Not to mention, they do not each have to supply all the volunteers for the entire weekend. If all the organizations can only come up with 2 or 3 people to man the entire space, that's okay. So they're pooling the resources. But I have been coming up with a pricing schedule that will allow for somebody to come in, an organization or a large business, to sponsor the area. Multiple sponsorships are available, and it'll allow some advertising and things like that, just to allow some of the businesses that maybe do not see value in having a trade show booth, but they see value in supporting local organizations, to really allow people to understand what is available in the community for resources, because that is also one of the things that I've been hearing at a lot of these roundtables, is that people do not know what is available in the community. They come to me and they say, well, we don't have anything for this, and I'm going, what? Yes, we do. we actually have, you know, all these organizations. So it's just kind of it's a space that I'm excited about it. I have a lot of, I'm trying to think of the right word for it, a lot of hope that it'll go really, really well, that we'll get it sponsored, and really just let the community know what's available, and let these organizations have a moment to shine and become visible.
Good, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, I'm going to suggest we take 5 minutes. Cole, are you okay? We got you a little late this morning, but we'll still within 15 minutes. If we take 5 and then you come after that, if you're good with that. Okay, thanks for coming in today, Lisa and Naomi, and I'm sorry we started a little early there. That was my fault, but appreciate your presentation. Let's take 5 minutes, and thanks for coming in this morning. Keep up the good work. Yeah. agenda, but we've, but
No
by the time
worries.
you're done, we'll be right back on track.
Exactly. Thank you very much for having me. So we'll start off with the Hamlet distribution and wastewater systems. If you recall, I was been giving updates on the Lake Newell Resort lift station upgrades. We were going to award an electrical contract this past week. We received word from county staff that they would like to hire MPE to kind of take a little closer look at the electrical contract itself. In that the RFPs that we received, received 3 quotes from local suppliers, and there was a little bit of deviation from that because they were proposals that they thought were needed for the upgrades. So there was a little bit, the meat and potatoes for all 3 of them were there. There was some expansion on scope from one of the contractors, and having MPE take a look at it and come up with an exact assessment of what needs to be done, what's prudent to be done, and what would be extra. They can kind of fine tune that and then send out requests for proposals that are more tighter scope. Right. So I think that's, I'm not an electrical engineer kind of thing, so that would be prudent for MP to kind of dial in some of these more complex components of this infrastructure piece. So that's what we're going to do moving forward on that. So taken off my plate, put on county staff and MP staff to come up with that portion of it. The other portion, the mechanical, the new stainless steel piping has been scheduled for June 18th. So we're going to have several contractors lined up simultaneously to kind of be able to facilitate the install of that. But June 18th is the current day that we can get everything to align properly with all the different contractors that we're going to be working with. So hopefully here in a couple weeks that'll be all done, and then the mechanical portion of that will be all brand new. So looking forward to that. We have completed the lift station cleanouts and distribution flushing as part of our spring preventative maintenance program. Only minor deficiencies were observed, like leaking gaskets and stuff like that. So that's all been rectified. Everything's good to go. We did notice that the fire hydrants in Tilly and Lake Newell Resort could probably use a new fresh coat of paint. So we're going to be going through and having our summer students repaint them. And we're not going to be drawing animals on them like some other communities do. Yeah, exactly. So they'll be red and black just like they were meant to be. So we'll take care of that. We've completed some valve maintenance at the Tilly Lagoon system as well. We went out there just to make sure all the valves are functioning and working properly so that when Lambourne Environmental comes in to do the desludging project for that, everything is working properly and it'll go smoothly. So we took care of that, and Lambourne is starting to mobilize equipment to the site. I believe it'll take them about 24 days, give or take, to complete that project. And that is putting the sludge in the geotubes and having that pumping process and everything as far as for that project. So that'll be starting here imminently. Okay. And the County Newell Water Project, the update that I got from county staff on that, Excalibur was working on phase 3. Syncor is going to take over some of that responsibility to kind of get that across the finish line for that part. And then Syncor is going to finish up their portion. So that's kind of where we're at there. That's the extent of my report. So if you have any questions.
Thanks, Cole. Are there questions? Oh, great. Go ahead, please.
And this, thanks, Cole. This may be fire related because it is with respect to the fire hydrants. Are we all up to code with respect to the fire hydrants in the area insurance wise, as far as pressure and maintenance and all that stuff? Are we able to get the best rates possible with insurance and not having the fire hydrants as a hindrance?
Just punch your, yeah, thanks.
Sorry, that's a little outside of my expertise. That would be a Stuart question for sure. But as far as mechanically goes, that's kind of what we look after to make sure that the equipment that is present is functioning properly. And that's part of the flushing program as well, because it's tied into the same distribution system. When we do those fall and spring flushings, not only are we maintaining water health in the system to make sure that that's adequate and that the pipes don't have any sediments or anything like that, we're also making sure that all the equipment is working properly. And that includes the pump house and the pumps, and they're ramping up to provide certain flow rates and stuff like that. So based on programming from the original engineers and how it pertains to what kind of flows are needed for fire protection as well as distribution for potable water for consumption. So all that kind of ties in together, and then the county and the Stuart and his team will kind of come in there. I believe, I don't want to speak for him, every 5 years? Yeah, 5 years they come in and do their testing to see what kind of flow rates they can get, and as far as to make sure that that's adequate for fire protection. So.
Okay, thanks, Cole. Any other questions? Seeing none. Thanks for coming in this morning, Cole.
You're welcome.
The report. Okay, let's move on. Administrative business. Oh, okay. The municipal reports at the same time. Okay, let's go to 9.2. Mr. Mark Harbin, welcome.
Good morning. So quickly with the update, you've got the municipal enforcement information in front of you and the rest. Officers issued 4 warnings, 8 tickets, over 32 investigations. Remind council that Municipal Enforcement Supervisor John Nesbitt officially retired yesterday. Randy Burgess, Community Peace Officer Level 1, has assumed the position of Municipal Enforcement Supervisor as of this morning. I believe you guys should have the email with a photo so you know who Randy is, and don't forget. Congratulations to Randy on that. We were very aware of that going through the selection process when we hired for the officer vacancy a couple of years back when we hired Randy. So that has worked out well. And our recruitment of a new officer offer has been accepted. We're going through making sure that everything is fulfilled with that offer to have that employment gainfully employed with us. So that would be great. Fleet services, you know, just got some new equipment finally rolling into the shop. Picker truck cab and chassis is here, so we're going to attempt to do the work internal with getting the deck and picker switched over to the new cab and chassis. Gravel plow truck, finally, after originally being ordered in January of 2024, has arrived. So just keep that in perspective, that as we come with capital replacement items and whatnot, much the same as the people behind me in fire services, a lot of this stuff is not coming as timely as it used to be. So we're doing our best with what we can to keep things in service while we wait for the new replacements to come. So being mindful of that and service delivery. Triaxle pup is arriving the week of May 28th. I cannot confirm that arrived or not. Don't have that in my head as of right now. And training is being upkept as necessary. Operations, well, we still have soft spots out there on our roads. Terry gave me some statistics. We have a lot of kilometers of frost boils logged this year in our GPS system in comparison to previous years. What's that attributed to? I don't know. I'm not a frost boil subject matter expert, other than there is frost, there is water trapped below, and it boils when it all comes out of the road properly. And we just deal with it. I know we've talked several occasions about we should be digging out, we should be doing this, we should be doing that. It is very expensive to dig out frost boils, and I'm going to pick on one multi-lot residential subdivision this year that we repaired about 4 years ago. It was good, it was good, it was good, and this year it boiled up again. I don't have the solution. Can't predict it, so even when we've invested the money and the time to do the job, sometimes it still doesn't hold. So there are underlying factors there yet that we may not get to, and the dollars just don't pan out to deal with it. I think we spent like $40,000 to $60,000 the last time in that one instance, and here we are again. So it doesn't look good. Let them heal up, keep them safe for motorists to pass over, and let it be, because we can spend a lot of taxpayer money for not a lot of gain. No guarantees anyway. With that, dust abatement season's rolling in on us here, so grader operators, they are out there. They are cutting most all dust abatement locations up, whether it be for safety purposes or prepping for this year's dust abatement application. And other than that, they've been in their regular rotation of grading roads. Washboard's prevalent. I can't control moisture levels. It's dry, it's dusty, and washboard is out there. So they're doing their best to maintain with what they're dealt. Truck drivers, spot graveling of frost boils, keeping up, getting dust abatement locations that need resurfacing of gravel before application are being done. That's generally done every 3 to 5 years on the various locations, and then working on the resurfacing program for the year. What else we have? Dust abatement program applications received was a total of 373 this year. 338 residential, 35 non-residential. I apologize, I did not come with last year's statistics, so please defer that question.
Where are you starting, in the south or the north this year?
We always start immediately around Brooks with both crews and go in a rotation, so they've got it up on the board, and we try to make sure that there's some fairness and equity in who's first and who's last, but there is a sensible way of going about it.
Yep, that's fine.
Street sweeping of Hamlet roads. Heard on a couple occasions it was about time, and I just politely reminded people we do it at the same time every year, so please build the muscle memory that just because the weather got to be 21 degrees back in like February doesn't mean we pull the street sweeper out, because we could be out surfacing for ice control and stuff. So what else? We've got 6 of 7 grader shack replacements done. Just put a little tender out there for people to be able to bid on the old grader shacks as is at their current locations. So they're 16-year-old garden sheds that I believe are about a 10 by 10 garden shed. Asphalt shingles, you know, it's just time to replace them, and more security. We've had several break-ins. We found some solutions to that with the new ones. They're metal buildings with deadbolts and the whole 9 yards. So the guys are looking to new grader shacks that may or may not have had rodents in them or not, and maintaining our health and safety records. Engineering, contract 3. Substantial completion's been awarded, so the letters are going out so that people can be notified of getting their flow emitters and getting water turned on. Contract 4 anticipated to be substantially complete middle of next week. So those letters too will be rolling out, so I anticipate the front counter being busy once those letters are out with people picking up flow emitters and getting contractors lined up to get them connected and working with NRSC to make those connections. So that gives several people the whole summer to get themselves connected and be ready for winter with turn the tap on and water should be flowing and not hauling anymore. Lake Newell Resorts Block 1 and 4, road rehabilitation project tender closed May 29th. That award's coming to you today. Crack sealing's done on all of our paved roads. Line painting has been rescheduled due to the contractor's availability. Kinbrook Connection Pathway Partnership. Concrete bases for the benches are going in, sunshades things. As you rolled in today in the parking lot, you might have seen there's a bunch of lath in and around where the flagpoles are. That is for the Trailhead Plaza to be done. So things are coming together with that. When I see we're getting nearer to it, I will start getting things thought about for a grand opening event and consider the timing of that. Lake Newell Resort Pathway, they have to relocate an air release valve yet before they can commence with any of the other work on the pathway. When that is done and pathway construction goes to start is when I'll push notification out to people that may be affected. Cole already reported about the Tilly Lagoon desludging. The geotube pad is constructed. Lambourne's on site. They have equipment in the lagoon getting all their dredges, their hoses and everything laid out and getting ready to go. Tilly Landfill project is also ready to proceed, just working on getting topsoil and clay capping material with the EID for that project, so that'll be great when that can go to tender and be awarded and get it off of the books finally. Canadian Pacific Kansas City Railway crossing improvements at Range Road 18.4 in Bazzano, 18.3, 18.2, and then jumping to 15.1 here near closest to Brooks. They are like a 95% complete state. Did a little tour yesterday, identified some things, put my good word forward to CP to look at things. They're rectifying some of the small deficiencies and getting there. And that is really the extent of my report.
Thank you, Mark. Are there questions? Adina?
Good morning. I'm not sure about other divisions, but I know in my own division there's been several new pivots go up, and there's been a lot of watering the road. Do we educate farmers on the damage they're doing to the roads, or do we go straight to the fine?
We educate often. Significant repeat offenders may get the ticket. It's just kind of been the direction of education, and for the majority, I'd say that most do put in the effort to try to rectify those issues. One thing I'll say about going back to frost boils, since we've been collecting that data for 3 years, we're going to attempt to see if there are any links between watering of roads, frost boils, things like that, that may provide some information we need to give back to council for future direction setting, perhaps, especially if it can be tied together. But I do believe that there is pretty good compliance along with the education. I would suggest that maybe along the more larger, perhaps corporate farming side, it's a little bit more challenging, as I'm not the landowner, or I'm just the tenant, or I'm just the employee, and we're working through it. It all goes to the landowner at the end. Doesn't matter who the tenant is, it's all get tied back to the landowner. So
Appreciate you collaborating with landowners and irrigators, as we are in irrigation district, which I know you appreciate, which I think we all do. So that's good. Kelly, go ahead.
Just a question about your timeline for the opening of the pathway. You'll make it for this council term?
Yes. I sure hope so. Everything's in motion, so we're looking pretty good, not to jinx myself, because I've had to retract previous comments before.
Good. Thank you. Any other? Oh, Ellen, go ahead, and then Greg.
So now the Kinbrook connection pathway, I hear some conflicting reports. Some say, oh yes, it's open. And I said, I don't think it is. The other day I mentioned at a meeting, I know that they have a program for the Brooks Newell farmers market. They got bikes and baskets, whatever. And I said, I'm pretty sure it's not open. I know it's not quite finished with the sunshades and so on. So which one is it?
You are correct, Councillor Unra. It is not open. It is under the contract, still with the contractor. They are responsible for site security as they deem necessary. We've seen people move barricades. Contractors move barricades for their own work. People are out there doing what they're doing. The communications out on social media and whatnot of the pathway it is under closure. There are hazards present, whether they are man-made or natural, and please respect the signage that's in place. I can't control what people do on their own decision-making, so it's closed.
Okay. Thank you. Greg.
With respect to the Kinbrook connection pathway, have we taken over up to 18.2? Is that taken over?
Not 100%. There is one item outstanding on that, which we're still working through, but we did clear the snow and stuff on it for winter, just for winter use. Didn't think it was going to be fair that we didn't provide that level of service at least, but it has not gotten everything signed off under an FAC yet, no.
Okay, and what level of mowing and things are we going to be doing on the entire pathway? But I just noticed this one driving in this morning. It's it's pretty overgrown.
It's up to the contractor, and they're very well aware of what their responsibilities are. As for the future care and maintenance, we do have agreements in place with the Eastern Irrigation District and whatnot, and that'll be me working with our Ag Services Department to determine what's necessary, because we have to keep in mind of snow drifting and what can be done to alleviate snow drifting. You know, it's a pathway across the prairie. It is a feature to give a viewpoint of the man-made reservoir known as Lake Newell Reservoir. And I'm getting some feedback already that perhaps we need more trees or we need this or that. And I'm actually more curious of if it isn't supposed to be more natural and this is what the prairies are and this is what you should experience along it. I don't have any concrete direction from council, but the goal right now is to fulfill the construction as the plan was laid out with the committees between the joint partners. And if there are future things, then that's a future phase. That is not now.
I thought you'd be able to see the mountains from that thing.
Good point. Great point. More of my concern comes from if there are things like that, it needs to get filtered through council, through any agreement holders that we have. And most importantly, I don't want anything affecting the condition or subsurface of the pathway that all of a sudden we have a regular maintenance issue to deal with. So we only have 5 meters of land. The pathway is 2.5 meters wide. To plant a tree along it means there's going to be roots, there's going to be heaving. There aren't many trees that wouldn't heave a pathway. So maybe we just need to learn to enjoy nature as it is for our region. And I'm going to make sure that with the trailhead signage, that there is probably more than what we think should be required on the signage, but you're going out somewhere where there's very little shade. You got to go prepared, proper footwear, know the distance that you're capable of going yourselves. We'll have distances identified on the trailhead map so people can properly plan. Going to the extent of, you know, like a 30-degree day is like 50 degrees on the asphalt for pets. Be mindful, be proactive, be responsible kind of business. And we only have 3 trash can sites along the pathway, one of which be here, one at Bantry, one at Kinbrook. Pack it in, pack it out. We don't want to have debris and stuff littering our natural prairie scape. So that's where we as committee were at when we resolved the plans that were approved. So
thanks for your good work on that, Mark. Any other questions or comments? So go ahead, Holly.
Tilly landfill, which has been ongoing for many, many years. Are you getting a better idea of when it will be completed?
This year, we'll be going to tender as soon as we can secure the site for the fill that's necessary and the topsoil components. Done. There will be ongoing, perhaps monitoring and compliance reporting if there's anything along that lines, but that's all stuff that's been worked on based on the age of the landfill and what the province actually requires out of it. So, thanks,
Mark. Seeing any other questions, a motion to approve the municipal reports as presented would be in order. Lynette, thank you. All in favor, please indicate. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate that. Do we go? Let's go to 9.3, the tender award for the Lake Newell Resort Block 1 and 4 Street Rehabilitation Contract. Welcome, Jeff.
Good morning, everyone. Before you have an RFD for the award of the project for the Lake Newell Resort Blocks 1, Blue Heron, and Block 4, White Pelican Street Improvements Rehabilitation Program. This project was budgeted for in the 2025 capital budget in the amount of $4.9 million. Inclusive of that was some additional estimates for water and sewer repairs that were estimated to take place with along with the road rehabilitation. We did investigate the sewer system and are still ongoing with the water system, but it looks like we're going to experience a substantial savings from what was budgeted at final budget time. So that's really good news. We had 2 bidders. The tender closed last Thursday at 2 p.m. Bidders were Industrial Backhoes Limited and Brooks Asphalt and Aggregate. The low bidder was Industrial Backhoes Limited for the amount of $3,626,770 excluding GST. The project has been well publicized to the residents affected out at Lake Newell Resort. As part of the specifications that were sent out with the tender, there was a lot of requirements for, ongoing communication and collaboration with landowners in the area, transportation assistance when people don't have actual access, egress to their properties. There's actually, once we do get an approval and an award to a contractor, they are required to attend an open house in conjunction with the county and MPE, which will be scheduled probably later in June here. And the schedule for the project is to kick off probably the first week of July and get going out at Lake Newell, start tearing all the asphalt, curb and gutter out and getting it replaced. The completion date is October 17th of this year. What else? I think that's all I've got to say, unless anybody has any questions, but we're going to ask council to award to Industrial Backhoes Limited based on their tendered prices. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Are there questions? Holly, and then Ellen?
So I'm not really, I've been in Lake Newell Resort, of course, but this is just, it doesn't affect the main road at all. It's just some of those sections off it. And then, of course, there's an issue with access because there's no room on those streets. So the industrial backhoes is going to be working on that, to understand that correctly. They'll be helping people figure out where to park and how to get back and forth and the whole safety issues around that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we put a whole host of special provisions in the contract that kind of indicated what and how and timelines for communication. We throughout the planning of this project, we've been building a very extensive list of owners, tenants, contact numbers, contact names that we're going to share with the contractor. We don't ask as part of the formal tender submission for their exact plan, but we do have specifications for how long somebody can be without access to their driveway. If they're going to be without access to their driveway, how much notice they need to be given, where their designated parking location is going to be, if they need assistance. We had some people in for the open house that were mobility impaired. We couldn't expect them to walk half a kilometer to get back to their house, so they will have to in times for certain people that are in need provide a type of shuttle service and assistance with groceries or whatever else is necessary out there. So that was all built into the contract, and while we don't know the exact plan, that's kind of the basis of some of the points and policies that were put in there as requirements. So now once we do get an award, we'll ship the contracts out right away for finalization, and like I say, we're going to get going in a month here in an effort to get things done here this summer. So it's going to be a really quick turnaround where they're going to have to build those plans, those traffic accommodation plans, those pedestrian accommodation plans, eco plans, so on and so forth. We'll have to approve them, get this meeting scheduled, and then at this open house that we're going to have in the third week of June, the contractor's also expected to have a very detailed phasing plan and communication plan for residents to engage, ask questions, so on and so forth about the project and timelines.
Thanks, Jeff. Ellen, please.
Question, is the Industrial Backhoes Ltd., is that a local company?
That is not a local company. They're out of Medicine Hat.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Lynette, please.
It seems like it's going to be a lot of coordination. I would love to have people this time say there was too much communication. They told me way too much stuff.
Good luck with that. Yeah. Greg and then Kelly, please.
Yeah, I with respect to that, we had very good engagement with the original open house. The second open house that we will be hosting will be well attended. The communication as far as out there with respect to concerns people had and questions about mobility and all those things, the place will be pretty full here, I think. And it was for the original. So this is going to affect people's lives for the next couple months in a big way. And I know that especially with the county staff, they'll be doing an excellent job with communication.
terms of effect as well for years after. It will affect their experience, I would say, which is a good thing. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up. We're not doing any work on the main road, but that's not to say it's not going to affect everybody out there. There's a lot of waste excavation to be removed from the site. There's going to be gravel roads, and it's going to be dusty all summer. There's going to be gravel trucks removing material and bringing new material in, asphalt. So it is going to create a nuisance, and we're not trying to, beat around the bush, and that's kind of what we've talked about with everybody. After the open house, we've got lots of calls. We've responded. Roxanne's talked to lots of people. We've been out, met some people about their driveways, and it's all been pretty positive so far. So we're pretty excited about it.
Good work. Thank you. Kelly, please.
Yeah, I was just going to share that I have a friend that lives out there, and he's a hunter. I'm sure you'll look after him. He has to get his hunting trailer backed in to load up, and yeah. No, seriously, communication will be key, and safety. It's a narrow road in, narrow road out, so that's going to be very important. So as much social media as you can. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Kelly, Holly, sorry. Thank
This
you.
is like a future questions, because you're doing blocks 1 and 4 this year. Can you tell me when the next set of blocks is being done, or potentially just in terms of how this one goes for the future?
2027, Matt's saving my bacon here. Sandpiper, Block 5, 2027. Block 2, Kingfisher was just done. Yeah, 2027 as well. So Kingfisher, and then Block 2 was just done when I started in 2008. So it'll be pushed out a little bit further.
Okay, thank you. There's a plan. That's good to see. Any other questions? If not, someone prepared. Holly? Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to award that tender to Universal Backhoes.
As recommended. Any further questions? All in favor of the motion, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you, Jeff and Roxanne, and all the best in the execution of the project. Look forward to the results.
We'll go back to it now.
Pardon me? Yeah. Let's go back to number 8, administrative business. Welcome, Stuart. You've been busy.
Yes, for sure. It's been a busy week here now. Reading Council, thank you very much for having me in this morning. For the past few years, the province of Alberta has sent out requests for assistance with wildland fires, and obviously we have some that are currently burning out of control, apparent with our special meeting that we had on the weekend, and subsequently a deployment of 1 truck, 3 personnel to Red Earth Complex Fire. Getting away from what this is, just an update on that. That fire is 2 days ago, it had progressed to be about 10, 15 kilometers away from Red Earth to last night when I talked to our team lead. We have precautions in place for sheltering in place and stuff like that, because the fire is getting very, very close to where everybody's working. So rest assured, though, everybody has a good safety plan in place, and everything will be fine. So with that, today I'm coming to you today asking for approval on a policy, and it's a policy that will enable administration and the fire chiefs within the county of Newell to make a decision on whether or not we deploy in a timely manner to the province. Because as you know, when I get a phone call, there's a process to that where I have to notify the CAO notifies you, and then we have to have our meeting to decide whether that's going to happen or not. So my request today is that we can hopefully streamline that and leave the decision factor on whether to deploy or not with our fire chiefs. And with that, policy 0171-25 has been developed, and we're asking for approval of that policy that will allow us to do that, which will allow us to be a little more efficient and quicker in response to the province's requests when they come in.
Thank you, Stuart. Are there any questions? Dan, go ahead, please.
It says that you need a majority. I just wanted to clarify what a majority is, and potentially would it make more sense to have more of a supermajority? Just worried that potentially half of the people being okay with it leaves half of the people not okay with it and feeling like they're not good. So just, yeah, if you could clarify majority and what that means.
Thank you, Councillor Short. Very good question. I think our next point down from that really clarifies that if we're at a point where we're deadlocked or it's a 50+1, we can certainly bring that to council then and bring it to the council level for decision, because our fire chiefs are close, but we don't quite all agree that maybe we should respond, and then we leave it to our decision makers here.
Thanks, Stuart. Matt, you've got a comment on that, please.
Yeah, so we've been working on this policy. We were hoping we'd have it in front of you before we were asked to deploy again, but we were asked to deploy. I think we've got a track record that's starting to build here, right? 2023 was the first time it was all new to us. 2024, it came again. And unfortunately, our friends in the North need help a third year in a row. There's, I think, nothing worse being a first responder, firefighter, when the request for help comes in and you have to sit on your hands due to bureaucracy and process. What the observation has been from my chair the last 3 years is if we've got support of the fire chiefs and our regional chief indicating to council and administration that we're not putting our property and our residents at undue risk by lending a hand to the province, we're good. Let the guys who know how to manage the risk manage it and work out the logistics. As an administrator, I am most comfortable if there is conflict or different views among the chiefs, and a bigger conversation needs to be had at the community level. This is the place to bring it. So we would like license to move quickly when we have the assurances and when it's a little drier around, or we've got a handful of the local fire chiefs who think, well, actually, I think we should stay put. We would bring that conversation back to council in a special meeting.
Okay, thank you. Stuart, go ahead.
And to Matt's point there, we've developed really well in the last few years, right? We were really by the seat of our pants in 2023 when it started to this year. We actually have a decision factor matrix set out where we fill in the document, and it gives us what our weather report has been, what our weather is projected to do, to what we have for personnel within the County of Newell. And then, of course, if we do deploy, how long are we going to deploy, and when do we do a reevaluation? For instance, with this deployment, we were going to reevaluate next Wednesday, but the way conditions are, the province is almost set to ask us for more resources, probably today sometime, and we've already decided that another tender and another rapid response can go out. And with that, we have mutual aids already in place, automatic mutual aids that Red Deer will automatically get another community to come and assist right away. And we're not leaving communities vulnerable. So that's all part of that decision factor and how we've grown within our fire service to make that informed decision on whether or not it's wise for us to go and do something or not.
Thanks, Stuart. Kelly, or pardon me, Lynette, did you have a question? You're good? Okay, Kelly, go ahead.
So this is a big ask. Typically, and according to the MGA, we're responsible for the budget, and this does affect the budget. Yes or no? Yes.
Great. Matt, please.
The county is, we do bill the province for the service, so it's a revenue generator.
And then we are responsible to replace the $600,000 units. I can see the reason for the ask totally. it's a download onto our volunteers, for one thing. Fire chiefs are being asked to make dollars and cents decisions, as well as HR decisions. It's theoretically, it's a huge ask, so I'm really, I need help. That's all I can say.
Okay, thank you. Adina and then Greg.
I'm going to go along with Kelly. I'm a little uncomfortable with just the cost of this equipment. You know, realistically, you got a call in the evening. We had an early meeting. What did we slow them down by going out a couple of hours? I felt we were pretty efficient with getting together and getting it done. I feel like this equipment is expensive, and for us to just let somebody else make its decisions, I'm uncomfortable with that.
Okay, thank you. Stuart, you've got a comment?
Just when it comes to the equipment and the dollar value, and I get it 100%, it's very, very expensive equipment. The history in the last 2 years, when we have deployed and something breaks down on our trucks, the province pays to get that repair done. If a fire were to demolish one of our fire trucks while we were performing the duty with the province would replace that engine. So that is one aspect that if that's it's still a concern to me, because it's a 2-year wait to get another truck into our service. So there is an aspect on that end, but as it goes for replacement, the province is really good at being fair to us as a municipality.
And I think all those details kick in every time there's a fire alarm.
100%.
So, I mean, we don't think about that locally. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I also have a concern with it, and not so much on the dollar value. My concern is that is when it comes to the taxpayer, the buck stops with us here, and to put that onus on the fire chiefs is a big ask. I would like to see the decisions coming from council versus those type of decisions with respect to sending units up north or anywhere with the fire chiefs themselves. As far as, because we have to think about, okay, what if we have another Patricia fire again? How taxing was that on our entire system of units for that type of fire? And it could very easily happen again at the same time as we've got units up north. So that's our decision as far as council goes, whether to send those, and that's on us. So rather than the fire chiefs, they have, well, council decided they have that out, which is a good thing. As far as time goes, Stuart, can you tell me hours, days, exactly how much time are we losing with respect to a special meeting from council versus not having that special meeting for council? How much time are we looking at?
Well, that's a hard crystal ball question. Last year, when the request came in because Jasper was burning up, we missed that window, and could we have made a difference? We don't know, and I'm not going to pretend to say, yeah, we definitely could have made a difference if we had had that decision factor to go immediately, right? Because in my opinion, when we do something like that, maybe it's on emotion as well. I would like to think we don't factor that decision in, but yes, we can miss the window, especially when it's, when your home is burning down, you want our fire department there right now to get the fire out, not waiting for a decision, and then we go and put your fire out, because by then it's too late, and that was apparent when it happened in Jasper. So doing this process, or what I'm requesting, just streamlines that and makes it easier. Thanks, Stuart. Greg, follow up?
Just to follow up, yeah, as far as, okay, if a special meeting's done by the fire chiefs versus coming to the council, would we have missed that window also? Would that window have been closed? Or would it have still been open if it was just the fire chiefs?
If it was just the fire chiefs, it would have been open. Last year, all the fire chiefs had agreed to that we were going to do it because I disseminate a text out to them as well as all the CAOs within the municipalities to let them know that this is what we have going on, this is what the chiefs are talking about, and we make that decision within the first half hour and then get back to the province and say, yes, we can or can't. But obviously last year we couldn't do that because we had to wait for council, which happened the next day, and we missed that window. So yes, we could.
Thanks, Matt. You had a
It's
comment
a factor.
to this too?
Yeah, for administration, this proposed policy is really just about being nimble. We know what our frustration is when we wait for the province to respond to the county when we've got asks in there. I think there's been great conversation on some of the risks that continue to exist regardless. And it is not without risk to the community by sending our staff and our apparatus up there. So we want to keep that in mind. The observation from me as an administrator when I get a phone call at 5:23 from Stuart saying, hey, we've got the call. We don't have the crystal ball, but it's in here. We were lucky with how everything came together that Saturday morning. This policy contemplates a future when councillors who are in Ottawa actually can't hop on the line. For a special meeting, you've got a set of specific check marks to make to discharge your legislative responsibilities under the MTA. So everything worked out well, and I hope everything works out well in the future. This policy gives you some room to be nimble at the fire service level to respond.
Thanks, Matt. Kelly and then Neil.
Is this a creation, is this policy your creation, or have you found this somewhere else? Because historically, this has been council's job, part of our role, as a matter of fact.
I'll let Matt answer the creation end of things, but I can tell you that Cypress County, our next door neighbors, they developed a very similar policy. I haven't looked at it, but they have the same leeway that I'm asking for today in Cypress County. So there's an example of a community that's a neighbor that does the same thing.
Thanks, Stuart. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, the author of the policy is yours truly. Stuart has, with the help of his volunteer fire chiefs, created a very detailed checklist, inventory of the fire apparatus, which you're not receiving. The governance and the policy question is, does the County of Newell respond to requests from the province to fight wildfires in northern Alberta? History has said, yes, we do. Next question would be, under what circumstances does the County of Newell respond to provincial requests for wildfire mutual aid? And the observation has been, we'll do it if we don't put the local community at risk and if we've got the support of the fire chiefs. So that's really the policy stand that council would take today, is that, yeah, we've got a policy, we respond if we're not putting our folks at too much risk, at the recommendation of the folks who have the expertise. And I rely on our regional fire chief and our local chiefs. If there was a significant amount of dissent, I'm not comfortable making that call, and we'd be bringing the decision to council to be made in those circumstances. But if you've got the fire chiefs locally who have the staff who are willing, and a lot of these guys look for the experience getting out there. So there are some tangible benefits that come back to our region by sending our volunteers who are willing I would never support a policy that puts pressure on volunteers to leave their community to go respond. But I think we've had positive feedback from the folks who have been up there, sleeping on cots, roughing it, at the benefit of their provincial neighbors. That they do learn a thing or two.
Thanks, Matt. Neil, you had a question, comment?
Yeah, I just want to echo what Matt just said. As a councillor, if I have to go to a special meeting, I'm going to phone him and ask him how to vote. So why not just leave it with the guys that know what's going on? Plus, it's minimal that something's going to happen here while our guys are up there that we can't handle, or Stuart wouldn't bother sending them. So,
excuse me. Go ahead.
I'm totally supportive of the change. It doesn't cost us any money. Our guys up there are getting paid good money, and someday we might need them to return the favor. So,
Thanks, Neil. I'm just for clarification, this isn't specific to the north particularly. It just is right now. This could be deploying someone to Wheatland or Cypress. So that's pretty close. So that's a difference. Or I mean, I think this makes us more nimble. Go ahead, Holly, and then Lynette.
I'm fully supportive of sending aid wherever it is needed. I don't think that's a question of anybody around the table. And the question would be, if we had a bad fire, it's like the one in Patricia, and we had resources that weren't here, and people were angry because of that they felt that they weren't taken care of, is it fair to leave that decision to volunteer firefighters and staff, or should that fall on us? That's the only question I'm going on, not in terms of response or nimbleness, because I think you've probably done fabulous policies and planning, Stuart. That's not a question. That would be my question that I'm kind of trying to figure out.
Can I clarify something? My understanding of this, it always falls on us. That's what we're here for. But we're also here to determine streamlined ways of making decisions quickly and in a timely manner, so it'll always fall on us. The buck stops here. And so I guess my interpretation of this is that we're also trying to be nimble and responsive in, for lack of a better term, an exemplary kind of way for government responses. And I think this is anyway, a reasonable response, but I appreciate the conversation. Everyone's questions are valid and need to be addressed for sure. Stuart, go ahead.
And I understand that, you guys have a great responsibility because it is the taxpayer that you have to answer to. At the end of the day, I would like to advocate for my fire chiefs and say that my fire chiefs know their fire areas very, very well. They know the ratepayers that are in your areas, and they have a really good pulse on whether those ratepayers are comfortable with our fire departments moving on to assist the province or not. Because I see that in our WhatsApp Chiefs group when we talk about, are we going to deploy? And, we have a Chief Slender saying, yeah, well, we need to be cautious because things are dry in this area and guys are telling me, right? And as soon as I hear that, I know that ratepayers are obviously talking to the chief to say, hey, there is a bit of a concern here. So I think our chiefs have a good pulse on what our ratepayers expect from us as well.
Which is why we have them as well, right? Lynette and then Greg.
I think the only thing I would like to see then changed on it is unanimous consent, not just a majority of the fire chiefs. Have them all agree before they deploy.
Okay, thanks, Lynette. Go ahead, Stuart.
If I could answer to that one, unanimous means every single fire chief. And I'm not too sure you're going to get that agreement every single time. I know when we do votes, it's typically in that 70 to 60 range, but it's never 100% around the table. So that would handcuff us if we said that. So I said majority, but we could say 70% of the fire chiefs. I just don't know if we want to say 100%, because just like in council, everybody has different opinions and decisions. And when we vote, it's the vote of the majority, not unanimous.
Thanks, Stuart. Go ahead, Greg, and then Ellen.
My thought is, and this is the nature of first responders. The nature of first responders is to get out there and get the job done. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's go fight this fire. Fire chiefs are exactly in the same understanding. Their mindset is to go help. We got to save lives. We've got to save property. We are that defense. We are we aren't fire people. We're not first responders. We are the voice of the taxpayer, and we are given that job as a councillor. It takes the emotion out of it, because I know you guys want to go, and it takes that out of it. It puts the responsibility on us, and that is the point that I'm trying to bring across, is that this pulls that out, and the emotion is taking part of it. Nothing to say anything bad about the fire chiefs, but you guys want to get the job done, and I think we're that extra voice of reason without the emotion.
Okay, thanks, Greg. Ellen, and then Kelly.
And I appreciate the discussion, but I sort of agree with Neil. I would totally go on your recommendation and the fire, and in collaboration with the other fire chiefs. I think this is your turf, and you know what is at stake, and so on and so forth. I would think, as long as there is the vast majority along the chiefs that recommend to go, as long as it's not like a barely, I would be in favor of a vast majority.
Okay, thanks, Ellen. Kelly?
I'm getting there. I appreciate the conversation for sure. Is there a possibility of, I know, Matt, you're good about communicating with us. Can we put council in the communication coordination somewhere? I know it's your job to communicate with us, but should that be stated? Because council is left out of this policy.
Okay, thanks, Kelly. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm a lazy writer. I assume once CAOs get notified that our local chiefs with the regional chief have made the decision to deploy, and they give that recommendation to the administrator for the blessing, yeah, head out, that then the administrator would turn around and communicate with his or her council. But I think you could accomplish it by putting 3B. The CAO will communicate with council all deployments.
Okay.
And then it's explicit.
Yeah. Okay.
For when I'm not here and you're not here.
Okay,
For sure.
Thank you.
And to that, Councillor Christman, when I text out to my CAOs, that's how the conversation ends. Please share this out with your prospective councils, because everybody should be in the know on what's going on within the county.
Okay, thank you. Holly?
Just one question about the fire chiefs, the ones who aren't in favor. As a general rule, would it be they're just on the side of caution, or are they seeing other issues that are potentially something to be discussed?
I would say it's more on the side of caution, right? We definitely live in a frying pan, and things are drier, and we walk on that grass that crunches and stuff like that, and we wonder, is it a good idea to go or not? And that's where we have accurate weather stations at our fire halls that I put in back in 2019, so we know what our rainfall is per each fire hall. And with the help of EID now putting internet into all the fire halls, we're able to see actually we will be able to see all 9 fire halls here very, very soon on what we're getting for moisture. So that's part of our matrix, is knowing what we've had for moisture in the last while. And I know the next 10 or 14 days out in the future is always a crystal ball, but we know somewhat what could be happening in the next few weeks. And we know that if temperature is rising to 32 degrees and we're going to have a sustained 20-kilometer-an-hour wind for the next 2 weeks, we know things are going to dry up really, really fast. So I think as chiefs, we all take all those things into account. That's why we created the sheet to say, maybe not right now, or instead of a total of 5 or maybe 6 units go out, we're only going to send 1 or 2 because we want to make sure we keep enough assets here. It's all part of that decision-making factor before we say, yes, we're going to go.
Okay, thanks, Stuart. We've had a good discussion here. One more question for Kelly, and then I think we do need to come to a decision. But I have a question too prior to that, just for understanding. I think that we have commented that this policy would serve us if we had to deploy to wheatland or cypress or special areas. Do we have special arrangements with our neighbors there that allow us to move quickly there, right?
Currently, we already have mutual aid agreements that actually have expired, and I need to work on them this year and should be coming to council hopefully this fall.
But that's assumed.
But that's a different thing, right? That's a simple phone call from Cypress, or Cypress calls Red Deer, and we go automatically, right? Because we have that agreement in place. So other than Sisika Nation, I can tell you, I'm working hard with Tom Littlechild to get that one resolved. So
okay, thanks, Stuart. Go ahead, Kelly.
So I just wanted to ask or encourage, I'm willing to make the motion. I've come that far during this half-hour discussion. But I wanted to encourage you to pay attention to the HR. This is a download onto the fire chiefs, and it's a responsibility. I mean, we all have strong backs or we wouldn't be here. So we can handle that, I think. And it's not about the money for me. It's more about the HR and what that's going to do to our volunteers or make them feel. I would hate to have a fire person feel compelled to go and fight a fire if they weren't physically able or socially able. So just ask you to please gauge the HR. This policy is going to come back for review within 2 years probably. So we can talk about it then if I'm here, but just gauge how you think it's working with our volunteers, please.
thank you very much. Very valid
I'll
points.
make a motion to move to approve as recommended.
Okay, thank you. As amended, yeah. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Go ahead, Lynette, please.
What did we amend?
We added, Matt, can you
3B, the CAO will report all deployments immediately to council.
Okay, thank
Not
you.
changing anything about the majority?
No, we haven't changed that to this point. Go ahead, Matt.
The way the policy is written is the way reality has rolled out the last 3 deployments.
Okay, thank you. I would remind us too that we often are concerned about the extent of our resources for fire, and I think we're pleased with that generally because it serves us well. And I'll also remind us that none of us have seen it as bad as it could be. Just let your imagination go, thankfully. And also that we'll continue to resource our county and our regions as well as we can, and we appreciate the good work that our volunteers do, and we give them responsibility. So all in favor of the motion as amended, please indicate. Opposed?
Jeez.
Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Stuart. It being about 7.5 minutes after 12, I'm going to suggest we break for lunch and reconvene close to 1:40. 12:45 unless we get carried away.
I'm gonna try. It'll be a wild card. I've got it in my calendar, but I'm gone for the last couple of June.
Okay, we're up to 8.2, Enhancing Water Availability Engagement, Phase 2 Survey Responses. And Matt has circulated a RFD with regard to responses to that, right, that you've crafted for us?
Yeah, afternoon, Council. You have the online engagement survey in PDF form with some proposed responses. Administration is happy to make any further edits. I did circulate to the 3 councillors who were at the water engagement hosted by the province, incorporated some of their feedback here. I guess it's the last kick at the can to round off any rough edges before we hit that big submit button.
Okay, are there any comments? You've had opportunity to read through the responses that have been crafted. I think, Neil, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm happy with all the responses, and I think the province did I was scared it was going to be a lot more heavy-handed in the way it turned out. I think it's great.
Okay, thank you. Is that a motion or is that?
I don't know if you're ready for a motion or not yet.
Let's wait. Any other comments or concerns or suggestions for altering the response?
Then it's a motion.
Okay, Neil's moving that we move forward as recommended. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. That's probably as efficient as we've been all day. Thanks, Matt.
What are you saying? It's all good. Let me read between those lines.
Let's move on to 8.2.1, motion enhancing, oh, we did that already. Request for letter of support for Silver Sage. Okay, that too has been circulated. Sorry, Lane, thanks. Take us through that. You've got background for
No,
us.
this is just a follow-up to the presentation that you had during your last council meeting. The request for letter of support has been submitted. I guess the discussion with council is what level of support are you wanting to provide? A project of that nature is going to be a lot more than just, we've got an idea and we're going to go ahead with it. Is there something more that council wants to refer to in a letter of support that's going to be provided?
Thanks, Lane. That's a good question, and I guess having missed the presentation, I did hear it was a good one, and I think from Silver Sage too, they appreciated the audience with the council and the discussion that you had. What was there an ask other than letter of support from Silver Sage at this point?
Yeah, it was initially just a letter of support, but the assumption is that there is going to be asks coming to council, but no details available at this point.
Right, okay. Neil and then Kelly. Thanks, Lee.
I think for sure there's going to be a lot more coming. Like the plans that they're having are pretty spectacular. It's going to take support from every municipality, every hamlet, every town in the county to make this thing go.
Okay, that's...
And it's not going to happen tomorrow either.
Yeah, no, I think as Lane indicated, there's bound to be some more specific asks. I'm not sure, I guess the question is, I'm not sure that do we need to decide what our level of support is going to be, or do we wait till we see a concrete plan that is with costs attached to it, right?
So-
Kelly, go ahead.
So that's where I was going. I said, I wanted to say, let's deal with the ask as they come in. There is going to be more, I know, but let's deal with them as they come in. And for now, we had 3 asks last meeting, and this was the number 1. So let's deal with that. And they also asked for requests to delete or support in development fees, and also the tax reduction in the future as well. So those are all discussions once title changes, and there's lots more to come, I'm sure, not to mention capital money.
Great, okay, thanks. And is that kind of what you were referring to, Lane? Yeah, okay, thanks. And sorry, I had probably not read the minutes well enough to connect to those, but Adina, go ahead, please.
I have some concerns about the event center. I don't know, I'd like to see a little more information, because they're going to be in direct competition with the Centennial, the arena right there. And I don't know if the arena is turning bookings away because they're overbooked. I'd like to see one very successful. I don't want to see 2 not so successful event centers. And I know it's an arena, not an event center, but it can be used for the same thing. That's why I asked this morning about the Chamber of Commerce trade show, because the Chamber of Commerce trade show was one of those things the Silver Sage specifically mentioned as needing a better place for a better venue. So that's just my concern. I would just like to, because they're right beside each other, they're going to be in competition. How do we get some numbers about that?
Okay, thank you. Good question, Neil, and then Ellen.
Yeah, and on top of that, that's a good point. You've also got the field house, which they've had events with 700 people at a banquet that's available at the JBS Center too. So, yeah, we do need more concrete plans before we get in too deep.
Thanks, Neil.
Similar ideas that was said before. I mean, we don't really have that huge amount of population. Do we really need another event center? My thoughts.
Thanks, Ellen. Greg?
My thoughts are Well, I'm kind of on the opposite today. I think this the Silver Sage are, as far as an organization, they draw from all over the province, and an event center. I think they would be very proactive in bringing events to our area if they had a place to have them. I don't think they would be real interested in having concerts and things like that at the CRA because it's not very good. The sound is terrible. So I do think that they're a very they're a bunch of go-getters. They want to see a facility similar to what's in Okotoks or High River. I can't remember where that one is. Anyway, that's what their dreams are, and I'm not a cowboy guy. I don't deal with horses and cattle or anything like that, but I think they're one group that really brings people to our area.
Thank you. I'll sell you some boots. Did you, Lynette? Yeah, go ahead, please.
I think right now all they're asking for is just saying, yes, we are behind the fact that you want to try and do these things. They're not saying they're going to be doing them tomorrow, but having a letter of support from us when they go to do grants and things like that is like, it just says that, yes, your community is behind you.
Yeah. What's the status of the land ownership? Has that been transferred over to them? That's agreed to, right? Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Go ahead.
What Ken also said was their next project is to replace the roof on the Silver Sage for cost of about $500,000. So that's where their funding raising is going to be going in the short term anyway. So they're not looking at the event center. But I think you're right, Greg. If you need people to say, to look for events to come, right? You need someone bringing them here. We don't have that. So that would be actually a benefit.
And it's a long-range plan, as I think has been identified. This isn't all immediately in front of us, which provides us the opportunity to adjust things like the tax base or the development permit and that kind of thing, right? If that's what they're looking for. Do a letter of support. Does someone want to make a motion with regard to that? Dan, please.
Yeah, I'll make that motion that we send a letter of support.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried unanimously. Now the question of, is there other things we want to do? And this is an honest question based on the discussion you had last week. Do you think that we need to move on the tax and the cost base today on that? No? You want to wait on that? Okay. Right. Okay. So we can move on? Okay, thanks, Lane. Councillor payment sheets have been circulated. Any questions or comments or a motion to approve the councillor payment sheets, Holly?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Requests for functions of council. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just wondering about getting called out at the last minute for the Bandits Barbecue. Is that a function of council?
The Bandits, Brooks Bandits had a barbecue that Adina and Amanda were at. Okay. I was in Medicine Hat as a Community Futures. I was asked to attend a meeting on Tuesday with Mike Mann, the new CEO of Alberta Innovates was there, and Tracy Stroud asked me to go, and so I went, but doesn't need to be a function of council, I don't think. Mileage is covered for something like that anyway, right? Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Holly.
However, if you were asked to attend as the reeve of the county, then that should be a function of council, Arno.
Yeah, I guess officially it should be. I don't know. Doesn't have to be, but whatever. Kelly, sorry?
Which one was that?
I don't think Reeve has ever requested a function of council, to my knowledge. Reeve has a stream that they can swim up without council.
Okay, and
That's my experience. I've not heard.
No, and I'm happy. We've never discussed that. I guess I haven't thought about it, and I'm not looking for.
No, you should claim it.
Well, in this case, all I'd probably claim is my mileage, just to cover the trip there and back.
Again,
But
it's
yeah,
up to you.
yeah, okay, yeah, okay.
I'll just.
Good, go ahead.
I'll just share my experience. When I was on compensation committee, we just breezed over the Reeves expense sheet because that person gets called out to, and again, they're responsible to their ratepayers at the end of the day, and that's where the buck stops eventually, so.
No, and I appreciate, I think that's probably how it should be. I hadn't thought about that really specifically, but that's how it should be, I think, too, so that's good.
And we're aware that you neglect to put a lot of things on there.
Oh, well, okay, whatever, yeah, okay, go ahead.
RhPAP this week as a function of council.
What else needs to be a function of council? Hydrogen hub? That is already? That's done? Okay, thank you. Are we good? Let's move. Oh, sorry, Lynette, go ahead.
Sorry, the RhPAP thing I don't actually have on my list. Can we make sure that, yeah, I'll make the motion that the RhPAP meeting was a function of council.
Okay, all in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Anything else? Seeing none, we're down to post-agenda items, right, Matt? Which are just a couple of, and this doesn't have to be exhaustive, but to me it seems there's been a number of conferences that and meetings that we've attended recently, and sometimes it's good to talk about those when it's close at hand or in your mind. I know that we have prepared a written report on the Inventures Conference, but Neil and Greg and I were at that. We haven't circulated the report yet because we had some technical difficulties, but that would be for the next meeting anyway. But yeah, we could have done that, but you'd have got something that you couldn't read. Yeah, no, it isn't. Anyway, I will. Neil or Greg, do you guys want to start? I think we felt like that was a very interesting conference that connected us with some people that we don't usually rub shoulders with, and I think we did get some pretty not insignificant connections potentially through there. Why don't you guys start, and I'll try to fill in some blanks if they occur to me. Go ahead.
That was the first conference that I've been to since I got here where people were actually coming up to us, and we did meet, between the three of us, met a lot of people in the tech industry. And if you've noticed, I've shut up about solar because the future is AI data centers. And I'm not kidding. This is a quote, the last guys that Greg and I were sitting there, you know how we go to RMA and we have the ministers up there and they all have there's budget constraints and we'll have to go through Mr. Horner and blah, blah, blah. They were talking about funding for tech industries, and the government official said, there's an unlimited amount of money available, both private and government. Come and get it. And Greg asked a really pointed question. There was 6 or 7 of the executives up there and from the industry. What can the counties do? And there was a five bullet list, and the county of Newell checks them all off. Like we've got an opportunity here that, when you start adding up the dollars, it's like the second coming of the oil patch, like for somebody. So yeah, that was a really well worth going to conference. That was my take on it. It's too bad you all couldn't have been there because there were like 40 speakers and we actually figured out a strategy between the three of us, if you can believe it. And we did mix and mingle with one heck of a pile of people and then brought all the good ones together in the end. So it was cool. I enjoyed it. It was good for the county.
Yeah. Go ahead, Greg. Yeah.
Yeah, the biggest thing is during that, the deputy minister of, I can't remember which one it was now, he said that there will be a checklist for counties to go through to make sure that all the boxes are checked with respect to these data centers so that they can get quick turnaround on them. And like Neil says, we check them all already. So it basically is just kind of figuring out where to put them, like what land we're going to put them, what would be suitable, those kind of things. There were some good ones, little seminars that were, and a lot of them had to do with AI. AI is huge, and that's the reason for these data centers is that AI is only in its infancy. It's going to get more and more, and they need these data centers in order to process all that data. Even just to ask Chat GPT what color an apple is, it goes through over a million data points in order to bring that answer to your screen. So you think the more complex type of questions, it's being used in a huge way, and they basically says either you give into it or you're done. It is here. It is happening, and if you're in business and you're not using AI, you better get on it quick, or you're going to be left far behind. So that was kind of a shout out for me. And there was some on energy, electricity. I thought it was a waste of time, that particular one. But there was some really good connections that we made, and I guess we'll see what happens from it.
Yeah, no, that's right. And I just thinking about when we agreed or decided to go to that, I think there were some questions because, but then looking at the agenda, I think it was wise of the council to say, for one person to have gone to that, it would have been fine, but we'd have missed quite a bit because there were so many concurrent sessions. There was always 2 or 3 that I would have liked to go to, but they were not repeated. So you kind of had to pick and choose. So, Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, and there were very few municipalities there. When you look at it, how many counties we have and urban municipalities, there were very few there. Some were there in a big way. Yeah. We were there in a big way with 3. And there were many that didn't have anybody there. Yeah, so this really helped us.
Starland had about 3 people there, I would think, and then Clearwater had a fellow there that I met, just kind of stumbled on, and then the mayor of Grand Prairie was there with probably. There was a lot of academics there, so all of the institutions were well represented. There was quite a few, and some really interesting keynote speakers too. There was a fellow that talked about AI, and this has kind of been referred to, but he said, "You think you don't know who sent you that today?" He said, 24 months from now, you'll have no idea whether you'll have a hard time judging whether the people you're talking to in a Zoom meeting are there or just concocted. Like the dynamic of AI, like I have a hard time wrapping my mind around it, but you know where you get things and you don't know if this person's real. They're going to say the images that are going to be, like you're going to see them on the screen and they'll look like there's 2 of you, like it'll be very difficult to tell. But then he couched it in saying there's blockchain technology that will address security, which was very interesting. But there was a session on branding, all of the major brands, and so there's a business component to that. If you we're part of a brand or something, but there's also, you know, I mean, what's the county's brand, right? Like it was a higher level, so I thought there was application regardless of what your interest was there. And typically, though, a lot of academics, I would say, not a lot of people with mud on their boots. In the ag tech and food tech ones, I kind of ended up attending most of those for us, but had an opportunity to speak to the thing we talked about this morning about interprovincial trade and recognition of provincial inspection, right? So that, say, meat or food products can cross province to province without, you know, that's provincial recognition of the inspection process, not requiring CFIA. So, and there was someone there from the federal government who knew nothing about that. Interestingly, following that, I had at the 2 or 3 sessions I went to, there was people coming to look me up afterwards to talk about specifics. Some of them about CDC. We made an excellent connection, I think, with the University of Calgary for CDC. They're very interested in potentially doing research out there, and Candace is following that up. There was a fellow that we're not quite sure what his business approach is. It's technology, though. We're having a follow-up meeting with the Candace through Matt has set up in the next few days. Those are all good connections. I met Andrew Dunlop from Lethbridge Polytechnic, and he approached me. He had been out to CDC the week before with a team, right? And he said, we want to sign a letter of a memorandum of understanding that we're going to help you fill that place. Like we're going to send customers to do research there. Yes, and then the one fellow from Community Futures, I think in Medicine Hat, was commenting about the difficulty of making the bottom line work in the greenhouses and that kind of thing. All of those are real things, but we're starting to get some connections. And then I think the invitation to go visit with Mike Mann in Medicine Hat last Tuesday came from the connections we made here. And interestingly, the head of Alberta Innovates stopped at CDC on the way to Medicine Hat this week as well, I think on Monday, which is significant because Alberta Innovates invests a lot of not so much research dollars, but partnership dollars to commercialize technology, I would say, and a variety of other things. So I think we'll see what the results are, but I think it was pretty good. Yeah, and then, I mean, I noted with Mike the other day, I said there wasn't, what was missing there, in my opinion, was more people with mud on their boots that understood, you know, what happens on the ground to some extent. But it was, you know, there was a mix of that. I wasn't exposed to everybody there. I'm just talking about some of the ag ones that I was in were a little bit short on some of that, but they were also very open to it, so there was an opportunity. So anyway, there'll be a written report available after we get it done.
Or authored. Yeah.
You'll never know. You'll never know. No.
All you have to do is press record on your phone and AI will transfer it into a report. I was on a meeting, that's how they did the minutes. Yeah. Secretaries are a thing of, no, they're not.
Actually,
I did not say that. You noticed.
This is a specific, and I'm maybe speaking to my demographic, but I don't think I'm alone. I think that the next council, and Matt and I have talked, we've discussed this, we need to get a little more savvy, you know, generally aware of what can be done with, you know, an application of AI for our reality and ability to absorb technology. So that's what I'd say. Neil?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, as far as this AI goes and data centers and whatnot, I think that should be, and it kind of is with Mitch a little bit now, but that should be a real priority for us to get in the mix and do our, I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for is, do our bit to lure them in, because it's, I was pretty excited at that conference, to tell you the truth. I had the dollar signs just chunk, chunk, chunk all day long. Building halls, building arenas, you name it.
Actually, Catherine was there too. What was your impression? You might have seen it from a different angle than we did, but.
I did see it from a different angle for sure. I tried to attend sessions that were relevant to my career and was grossly uninspired. So I'm happy to hear that you were inspired. So I obviously attended the wrong sessions.
Okay, thank you. Let's move
on. Another note with AI, they can hear a couple seconds of your voice and come up with entire conversations for phone scams, which is kind of scary, but amazing what they can do now. They can take a couple seconds and then fake your voice to make one of those emergency calls. Oh, yeah. They got me. Oh yeah, I'm done.
That's right. No, I think those are the facts, yeah. So if there's no questions, there'll be a written report we can discuss further, and hopefully we'll see positive results from that. FCM, Lynette and Kelly were at FCM. What do you want to share with us? I realize this is kind of off the cuff, but that sometimes has some value.
Well, I did take a few notes, and we will be doing up a written report. I've always just write down little quotes as to what the speakers have to say. So one of the ones, the CEO for FCM, her name's Carol Saab, her little quote that I wrote down was, "Building tomorrow with tools from yesterday is not going to work." So she was just talking about how we need to get with the times, and okay, so that was about it for her. But we had one of the, what do you call it, when there was a panel with a couple mayors from the US. So there was a lot of talk about tariffs, of course, right? So a little explanation too that we got while we were down there was not realizing, or we certainly don't realize, in the auto industry, how many times the parts will go back and forth across the border, right? So and every time there's a tariff, when it comes, that just doesn't make sense. And the US counterparts were singing the same song. So everybody has the same struggles, really.
Did they talk about it being an accountant's heyday at all? An accountant's heyday? Like no?
That wasn't.
That hasn't been thought of yet, probably, but it will be.
I went to a session as well with the Canadian chicken farmers, pork and dairy that are a conglomeration. And they were a lot of that discussion, because that was also a panel. A lot of things that they did were a panel where they would ask a question and then 4 people would answer it, right? So a lot of the talk there was the urban-rural divide and how to deal with that. And around the city of Ottawa, there's a lot of that. But what they've done to combat is what they call a buffer zone, which might have just some industry in between the actual manure and the people's houses kind of thing, right? I don't know. What else you got, Kelly?
Well, I want to go back to the panel that you first talked about. That panel was made up of 4 men, 2 from Canada, 2 from the US. They were all bald and all had hair on their face. And that was even talked about by one of the panel members. You'll never see a panel like this again. It was really good. Oh, Dan, were you there? Yeah. And there was 2 panels that had American counterparts on them, 2 on each of the 2 panels, and they were actually taking a word out of our vocabulary as Canadians. What do we always say? I'm sorry. They came very close to apologizing for what's happening. It was very interesting. Generally, the conference, I would say, there was only one time that I felt like there was a liberal, and that was when they all stood up and, anyway, there was a bit of a liberal slant at one point, but otherwise, I thought they did a really good job of keeping as much politics out of it as they could. There was one of the panels that we talked about was on urban life and urban discussions, and that's the panel that Neil Como chaired, and that is his committee on the FCM board. And so there was a real focus on rural, not on the food, but on the conversation about rural. So I thought that was really good. I want to tell you about a couple men that we met. Oh, geez, that came off funny. In conversation, they are from Kearney, Nova Scotia, and they actually are in partnership with Sustain. And you'll remember that Sustain company was second in line to Global Green with Sewa. So they're in their third year of operation with Sustain, which is an Alberta company, by the way. Anyway, their profits from that business totaled $3 million, went back into their tax base this year, and their mill rate dropped. And so I passed along his business card to Neil, and Neil's going to talk to Sewa to see if they want to maybe have a Zoom with these guys that are politicians and just get the scoop, because if we're burying that money, I want to go dig it up. I mean, seriously, that's what's happening over in Nova Scotia. So that's one item that I want. Oh, I also want to thank you guys for supporting me in my efforts to run for that position, including Ariana, who created my postcards or my bookmarks. It was a great experience, and yeah, people are talking about the County of Newell now because we were on a couple different opportunities, right? So it's always great to learn something. And I'll talk about the Prime Minister's address. Housing is the biggest on his mind, is what I got from his conversation. Partnering with provinces is high on his list, even though FCM is promoting dealing with us at the local level that get things done. So there's a little bit of a divide there at this point. But he's also mandated by the Constitution or to go to provinces. So we'll see. There may or may not be a shift in how the funding comes to Alberta or comes to any province. I thought that was interesting. He did receive that standing ovation, and he was welcomed wholeheartedly, and he spoke very well, but housing is totally at the top of his list. He really thinks that if the economy is building, Canada is going to be okay. So that is just off the cuff. That's what I can think of.
Well, that's good. Thank you. Anything more to add? Oh. Good. We'll read more as it comes. That's good. Thanks for attending. Go ahead. Yeah.
Could I add that one quote that I told you about this morning?
Yeah.
If you're not at the table, you might be on the menu. Yeah, just think that one through.
I think that's something that we need to think about too going forward. I mean, just in terms of, you know what you get done if you're not there. Like, the world is run by the people who show up, and I think that's something that the three of us, that occurred to us at the Inventures Conference too. I mean, we're not and can't be everywhere, but I mean, the idea of investing in attending and being at the table is worth doing, I think. So, Neil?
Yeah, it doesn't take much of a grant to make back all that little bit of money that costs to send a few people out to do some campaigning. Like, I think you guys did an excellent job. I think we should hit FCM harder next year. Maybe drop the spring RMA convention or something, but like, that's a good quote. Next year you'll be president.
Okay. Okay, let's, thanks for the reports, that's good. Let's go on to yesterday's meeting with AHS and RhPAP, right? That's the one we're talking about? Anyone want to comment on what was discussed or what was learned there that might be useful for the rest of us relative to healthcare? Amanda, Greg, Kelly, Adina, and Dan, right?
Yeah, Dan.
Go ahead, Adina.
Well, I'll say a couple of things because, some of it was a repeat, I think, for some that were at, who go to joint services, but they're building a sim lab at the hospital, and they're raising money for it right now, but it doesn't matter what they need. They're very adamant that they're building that, so that'll be for nurses to train, I seem to remember. So they're pretty excited about that. And I was sitting with the site manager for the nurses, and she was talking about how she really would like to see nurses, RNs, be able to take their entire education here at the Medicine Hat College Brooks campus, because if you live here and you go to school here, chances are you're going to stay here. So she said she knows of some LPNs, one specifically who has a family with like small children, and she was an LPN and she'd love to be a registered nurse, but she can't go to Medicine Hat because of her family, and if she could take it all here. So that was one thing. And then there was talk about there's some kind of sim lab in Pisano that maybe we could start using, a little more than what is being used. I was kind of surprised to hear 40 to 50 women go through the maternity clinic a week. That was something I definitely wasn't aware of. Also, it seems they have a lot of expectant mothers who can't take an iron supplement and have to do an infusion or an intravenous, and so that takes up a lot of their ER time. And one thing that was mentioned, one of the big contributors to some of our problems with ER is the JBS employees looking for return to work notes. And so is there something we could do with that so that we're taking them, so they're not coming to ER for those notes, seeing, and a lot of them don't have family doctors. So how do they go to the family doctor to get a note? So those were just some of the things I remember specifically coming up. And one ER doctor said we're just one doctor away from being in trouble. So there you go. Oh, and one other thing I didn't realize is that when we bring these doctors over from, say, South Africa, they come here and then they want to build a house or build a practice they have no credit rating. So then they can't get a loan. And so that's a struggle for them too. So how we could help them that way.
Okay, thank you. Amanda?
There was also some talk about how to retain the doctors here. What is it that's going to keep them here, and what's enticing for them to stay over the long term. So they're thinking about doing some kind of questionnaire, actually asking what is important, whether it's more arts, culture and arts, or private schools, whatever, but they're going to ask to do a questionnaire so that we can not just retain, or not just get them here, but keep them here.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Dan.
I brought up the one clinic model, and there were 3 doctors there, and of those 3, they all seemed to be very supportive of it. Actually, the one doctor was very supportive of it, and in fact was encouraging it. I think that could be a big solution. How it would all work, I don't know, but I think that could fix a lot of the problems that they were talking about at the table. But it sounded like there was buy-in, only 3 doctors there, but it sounded like there was good buy-in on that side anyways.
Thank you. Which doctors were there? No which doctors.
Visser Vanderwild? Is it Vanderlinde? Okay. Okay. Yeah, okay. And the other one, Johan, I think it was Vanderwild. What? No? I can't remember his last name.
New within 2 years.
Okay. Okay. Good. Anything else? Amanda? And then Kelly.
Prairie Rose Hospice was also there and represented, and just the feedback that they got was, it's quite exciting to have a little more a hospice, a private hospice, or a standalone hospice, however that looks, but there's definitely interest for it here in Brooks and area.
Good. Kelly and then Dan.
I may have brought the perspective of the Bazzano Hospital, which is close by, and the fact that there may or may not be possibilities of working closer together, supporting each other both ways. Then finally, the point I want to make is that we plan to meet together and include more stakeholders in a follow-up meeting to discuss further, because we identified several people that were not at the table at this table. So it is an opportunity to take it to the next level and see. And it's also an opportunity for the doctors to rally together, and because they do meet as a group. And so they can talk about it, that there is interest in the community to present healthcare in the best possible light and way. We also heard how important the maternity clinic is, and that they really do not, the doctors really do not want to see us drop the ball for a few $1,000s, and because that would knock the maternity clinic right out. Of the 19 doctors in Brooks, there are only 10 that do maternity and ER service. So I thought that was an interesting stat.
Limits the coverage, or the shared coverage, yeah. Dan?
Yeah, my point was going to be similar to that in what the future is going forward. There is plans for another meeting, and my suggestion was to, meet again and get it more focused on something specific, a concrete ask, and then give it to the politicians that might take it to RMA and AM, and we can actually sit with the minister in those meetings and make a good pitch for something specific. There was a lot of talk yesterday and a lot of great conversation, but there's no specific, well, here's a potential solution. And no one was expecting that yesterday, but hopefully in the next few meetings, something specific does come out of it.
Okay, thanks. Holly, a question or comment?
How many people were there, and what areas were they from? What groups? Approximate would be nice.
I'd say there was about 25 people there, and it covered a wide range. What's that? Yeah, five of them were us. The city was represented. Yeah, he showed up. City was there. City had councillors and staff. Duchess had a representative. The college was represented. The college was represented. Yeah, that's right. Bassano had 2. University of Calgary was represented. The nurses were represented. The doctors were. Am I missing somebody? Yeah, Diane Clerk was there.
And Terry Cordell's also on the foundation.
There you go. So there was folks from a lot of areas. We definitely probably highlighted, I'd say, another 5 different groups that could be there that would help out. So it was a really good day.
Good. Amanda?
And in the end, it was really important that we all work together and collaborate so that we have a better city and community and area. So it's about collaboration, and they recognize that.
Okay, good. Okay, I think, does that complete this part of the agenda? Is there, do we need to go on camera? No on camera needed? Holly, go ahead.
Sorry? I was just wondering, we always have strategic priorities on our information items, and I was wondering if there were any that we wanted to look at before council goes for elections again. We certainly completed a heck of a lot of things on that list. The one that kind of said that we hadn't touched yet was the county agricultural strategy, which we're sort of working on a bit, but I wanted to flesh that out a bit, at least for some ideas going forward. Not necessarily today, just interested if people are interested in that period. A lot of excited faces. I think it's after lunch. It's looking a little sleepy. Agricultural strategy. We've had a fair bit of a focus on agriculture. We've never actually written it down, though, so just bring it forward.
A few things that I think about that I think we have kind of focused a little bit on is the importance of water and the significance of expanded irrigation capacity, which is something that isn't moving very fast, but we're trying to influence ways for that to expand. And I think there's
data centers, right, Neil? Data centers and water. They're making some water.
Yeah. Well, and I actually, one of the things that was discussed at in one of the sessions I was at in Calgary was and I brought it up and it made it onto the floor fairly significantly from the guy that was chairing our little group. As they said, well, come out to southeast Alberta where there's lots of tired old gas wells but they're still producers, and let's build some data centers that are also connected to greenhouses and use the heat from the activity to fund a greenhouse. And if you look around the country, greenhouses have popped up all over the place. So that's, I mean, that among these innovates people, it was a new thought to them, and they were quite interested, or that made it on the table. And it makes some sense because there's some efficiency around that would be one of the potential driving forces to potentially get it over the top, let's say. And think of the collaboration there between the energy companies, the data center companies, and then someone in agriculture or horticulture with a greenhouse. That would be quite a project. That. Yeah. There's some gas wells out there, so yeah. Okay. Otherwise, in agriculture, I guess. Yeah, Matt, you were going to say.
I appreciate Councillor Holly Johnson taking an interest in the strategic priority chart, so I'm just going to chime right in. I do think, we are in the home stretch. We have certainly focused on a lot of agricultural related items. I would agree we don't exactly have a strategy in front of us. I could propose our next committee of the whole comes up third week in July. No, it's not canceled. You'll all be there. Right? Come on. We could carve out some time on Yeah, July's not canceled, right? Yeah. We could set aside some time on that agenda if council wanted to trying to pin down the strategy elements. I mean, part of it you're already doing, we just haven't articulated it. This council is very motivated to encourage irrigation expansion, irrigated agriculture, research and innovation. You've put your money where your mouths are. The effort for CDC South is a pretty big commitment and a pretty big nod to where we want to see ag going in the community. It should be a larger presence is the signal I pick up from those moves that this council has made. We've talked today about the interprovincial trade barriers. It's nice to see some of that moving. We've got partners we could potentially advocate with, collaborate with in the chamber. I don't know that it needs to take a ton of time, and I think you've largely got most of the pieces figured out. Other things administratively that the county's moved on is increasing the farmland tax rate over time. Our producers are paying for a larger share of the ag service budget, putting ag services in a better position sustainability-wise. So I do think we could, wrap that gift for the next council and articulate what the strategy is and hand that off to them to run with and build upon. If that's an agenda item, I would take that from you and make sure we have a half hour or 45 minutes to hammer that out.
I think that's a good idea. Neil?
Yeah, I agree with that. But two, we can't forget when you look at our pie chart that 97% of our taxes are not paid by agriculture. And we shouldn't forget the industry and maybe focus as much on industry as we do on ag. Like we're an ag county, which is just fine, it's great, but we're also an industrial county too, and they're paying the bills. So we just can't forget that. And we don't focus on appreciating our industry as much as maybe I think we should for the cow meeting.
I think the hydrogen hub is trying a nod towards the energy industry. I mean, ag is pushing a lot of money through, more than tax base, there's a lot of money going through. What do you see as doing more for the industrial base? Or where are you going with that?
Reducing taxes, attracting a little bit more of them, data centers, whatever else you want, trucking companies, auction markets, doesn't matter. A lot of the ag is financed by money that was made in industry and the oil patch. It's just a matter of recognizing that we need them as much as anything else, and we do need them. I don't know how you can. I really don't have the right word for what I'm trying to say here, but that's it.
Okay. Okay, I think too, and this is a bit of an aside, but one of the things that Alberta Innovates has done, they have about 4 streams of interest or focus, and one of them is a One Health model that includes life sciences and agriculture. So really what's old is new again, because they're thinking about what you eat is, how do you get healthy? Well, it's starting with healthy food, and which I think is brilliant, and actually, in the context of the discussion we had in Calgary last week, let's be thinking about how will new technology apply to some old ideas, right? Like agriculture and what's old is new again, as I guess is a good way of saying it, as anything that I think there's opportunities in our area that and that was one of the things we talked about with Mike Mann in Medicine Hat last week. He hadn't been down to this part of the province that much, other than when he was University of Lethbridge, but I think there's opportunity down here that there's ways that we can advance that. So yeah. Okay. Kelly.
General questions about the priority list. Okay. First question, meet with Siksika Nation. It says it's in progress. Do we have progress there?
Matt?
Yeah, we're leaving that between the chiefs to arrange. I understand there's a protocol when it comes to reaching out to Siksika Nation, so the door is open for the chiefs to get together.
Thank you. Good update there. And the other question that I have is, Just lost it. Okay, come back to me if you don't mind.
Okay.
I lost my second question.
Today or in 2 weeks?
Unrelated.
Today or 2 weeks? No.
You're still here.
Yeah, we're still. What, anything else? When it comes to, just let us know, yeah.
Oh, I will update on.
Yep, Matt.
So I will update on joint services and economic development terms of reference review. I'm getting together with most of my CAO peers tomorrow. We've got a new friend at the City of Brooks, CAO Doug Lagore, wrap his head around a few things, and we're trying to sort out the order of operations. Take it to joint services, and then it goes to individual councils, or individual councils then comes to joint services. It will be on the agenda for joint services. I've got a request for decision in. We're just going to try and hammer out some of the financing options that might be palatable to the other communities there. And I think we're largely in agreement with what Committee of the Whole had settled on as option 2, recommending you split the two. You've got your intermunicipal group that meets 3-4 times a year. And then the economic development crew, which meets less frequently than monthly. We'll sort that out, and is one of the items on the agenda is, do you consider opening the door to members at large from industry? And if so, how many kind of makes sense? So we'll chew on that as CAOs, and hopefully we'll get that one wrapped up before we send you off for summer holidays.
Okay. There's a, I was going to say, if you haven't been out to CDC recently, go out for a drive. It's pretty green out there. Looks pretty good. If you go around the back, you can, they only let authorized vehicles in, and you're authorized. We're all authorized. So.
Candace said the roses are blooming too.
Yeah, I didn't see them, but I was going to say Candace and Todd have been busy out there and also collaborating. Just an FYI, they're going up to WCI in Lacombe on Tuesday, I think, and then Wednesday, I think there's at least 3 of us attending an ARDAR annual update that they're doing at the Red Barn in Cremona. I got a call on Saturday morning from the chairman of the ARDAR committee saying you should be there. So I said I'd go. So and that'll be collaboration more than anything. But I think the expansion of people's knowledge of CDC is important, and I think it's also interesting the way that the knowledge of what's going on out there, what could go on out there, is starting to expand. So that's good. Kelly, go ahead.
So I thought of it, I also thought of it when Stuart was here, but then lunch got in my brain. Bazano Fire Hall opening, any idea of a date?
Not off the top of my head, but I know they were targeting mid to late June. I don't know if our deployment up north is going to throw a wrench in that or not. They were waiting on the decaling out front. The pad has been poured, and I think that's largely the loose ends. So it'll just be a matter of finding capacity and setting a date and getting out the barbecue and throwing a party and rolling a fire truck into the hall.
Okay, who's flipping pancakes tomorrow? Ooh, lots of us. That's good.
Put your hand up. Flipping pancakes. Flipping pancakes.
We have our volunteer.
Okay. I think with that, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you. I would say too, I mean, it seems like we've covered a lot of bases in the last couple of weeks from people's involvement, and that's impressive, I think. So good.
You've been pretty busy.
Yeah.